All right, welcome back to What Are We Watching? And I'm really excited for this week because we've got documentary filmmaker and editor Ben back and writer Sam back to talk about Howard Hawks, which this was, I believe, Sam's suggestion about a month ago. And this is kind of why I'm wanting to do this show, is getting to watch stuff that I haven't seen before. And most of the films on this list, with the exception of one, I have not seen. And then we're also going way back to like really a pretty expansive time period in film. I mean, you've got the 30s all the way through. I believe the latest one was Rio Bravo, and that was late 50s, 1959. And there was also a book that Ben read, and I started reading, and I am a terrible student. So this is once we're done introing, Ben is going to take the reins here because he is the one who does the real homework and as it's called The Gray Fox of Hollywood, and it's a pretty good biography. Couple chapters in, I'm right around where he meets Victor Fleming, which is sort of an interesting friendship, but it's written very well, very easy to understand. Highly recommend it. But with that, I want to kick it off to you, Ben, because you did the movie homework, but you did the deep dives into this. Yeah. So
thank you.
Take it away, Professor.
So the book, I'm gonna pitch it real quick, but this was written in '97 by Todd McCarthy, and Todd McCarthy was a film critic for Variety for a really long time, a really great film critic, and knows a lot about film history, right? And film journalism, and so so if you get a chance, it's thick, very descriptive. It's a good read. All right. So Howard Hawks. The thing I think to look at what I found looking at Howard Hawks's career is that his career touches on so much of the history of the Hollywood system, all the way up from the early 20s in the silent era to the 70s in the revolution, the film revolution that was happening in the late 60s, and when all of when the new Hollywood was basically coming up. And you can track, basically he made like 4 silent pictures, and then and he had to transition into talkies, and then also not just that, going through both World War I and II, and kind of and Vietnam to some extent. I didn't read as much about that material, but also and we're going to talk about as well the auteur theory. And one of the people that is talked about often in auteur theory is Howard Hawks. So yeah, we'll discuss what auteur theory is and kind of how it applies here too. But I guess to kind of start it out, who was Howard Hawks? He was fiercely independent. I think there's a good case to say. I mean, there's a lot of independent outside of the studio system filmmakers, but he's a guy that thrived. But back in the early days of what would be the golden age of Hollywood, there were a lot of filmmakers were under contracts, so they would sign for like 3 or 4 picture deals or for some period of time, and you'd stay there. You'd make the films that the studio wanted you to make. They'd give you the scripts and say, make these scripts, do these things, and here are the stars that you get. And some filmmakers would just go along with it and kind of churn out fairly ordinary fare, and other ones didn't. They wanted to make their own projects. They developed their own scripts, and they really produced their films basically. And Howard Hawks hated being signed to one studio. He often bounced around from MGM to Columbia to Warner Brothers and to National Pictures or RKO. So he was always at different studios, and he would, whichever one provided the best opportunity to basically make the film that he wanted to make. So he was, and he often bumped heads with studio executives. He never liked having them on his sets. So basically, he was kind of this tall, thin, dapper, handsome, very, very low key. He often spoke quietly, very slowly. When you see interviews with him, he just kind of has this drawl, this slow drawl, which is so contrary to like the style of dialogue in his films, which we'll get to. And he's just this fascinating character that would tell a lot of much like Orson Welles and a lot of the great filmmakers and any real great storyteller. Oftentimes, he would exaggerate. He would say there's these stories about how he slugged studio chiefs, and you think to yourself, yeah, probably not. Like I doubt that actually happened. But he grew up he was born in Goshen, out near Goshen, Indiana, to an affluent family who really owned a lot of the town in the area in Goshen. And these people are very industrious, very self-made people, and they went to Wisconsin for a short period of time, and then didn't like the winters there. So I don't understand it. I love them, but apparently the Hawkses were not big fans of winter. So they ended up moving to Pasadena, and he spent his formative years in Pasadena. And he would take jobs as a teenager working in props departments and building props and stuff and things for various filmmakers. And he kind of became friends with a bunch of really noteworthy filmmakers at the time. I think Douglas Fairbanks was one of his first big contacts, and then he sort of rose up through the film through the studio system. But yeah, he's just a fascinating figure for the types of films, for the genres that he revolutionized, and the things he had to say, and his approach. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And so, I mean, really, so where I'm at in the book, the book spends a lot, and you sort of kind of, it's very descriptive in his family history, which goes basically all the way, not directly the Mayflower, but it's like the beginning of the country. And
right.
It's sort of, you're going through these very descriptive chapters on, okay, why are we looking at all of these relatives? And the book does a really fantastic job of sort of leading you into, it's like, okay, this is where sort of this, it's almost like a quasi, just a history of early America through industry. And then they became this very wealthy family. And that does inform how you look at the world and ultimately what you put in your films. And he also had it makes the point that he had a lot of really sort of spunky, outgoing women in his family, which you can see go into the work, which I know we're ultimately going to get to for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Something you mentioned, Ben, like especially about early Hollywood and the directors just kind of not having much power and being, under those contracts. You see it in his filmmaking, but he as a filmmaker just seems especially modern and kind of ahead of his time in so many ways. Because I guess how it worked back then is the producers really were the directors, and we're like, and the director is really just there to like tell the camera, where to point and shoot essentially. And if he was able to break outside of that, and then the idea of jumping from studio to studio and just kind of going where best fits your project is very modern. And he kind of reminds me of, like, if you see him and then see Cary Grant, it's funny that like he's casting Cary Grant, who's like basically a little bit better looking version of himself, which is also like a very modern thing to do. Like Nolan often does this with his films, like, has, like in Tenet, he has Pattinson, and in Inception, he's got DiCaprio, who both kind of their wardrobe dress exactly like Nolan does in his day-to-day
Yeah.
life. And he has these guys in these
Same
directorial
haircut.
kind of
Yep.
roles in the story, same haircut, suits, ties, scarves. He just thinks of himself like that, which we'll get into the auteur theory as well. But yeah, he was super innovative as well, like especially with the effects and early effects and stuff like Bringing Up Baby. He just in so many ways, you know, was ahead of his time, which is interesting to see. And he was, you know, innovative, adaptable. You know, he went from obviously the silent to the talkies, and you know, did kind of mastered every genre as well, which is you know increasingly modern as well. You know, directors just kind of checking off genres off their list instead of doing the same picture over and over.
Yeah, that's of the list of films that we picked. I feel like every single one of them was very, very different. Like it's a huge variety of, like, you've got comedy, you've got drama, you've got crime, you've got noir, western. It's a broad array of stuff, which made it very, very not boring.
And he worked very slowly too, apparently. Like
Yeah.
especially for the classic Hollywood era, you'll see a lot of filmmakers have, you know, dozens and dozens and dozens of films on their, you know, filmography. And he certainly directed a lot of movies, but he wasn't going at that pace that some of those early, you know, directors were, where studios were having them crank out 5-6 movies a year. Because I think he would often rewrite like on the day of, to try to, you know, figure out a way to make the scene would work the best, you know, figure out how it for his actors as well, and do tons of rehearsals. And he worked very, very slowly, which, you know, again, it's pretty, you know, modern auteur, you know, it's
absolutely.
Yeah, it's like
fit in today.
Yeah, it's not we're not doing the assembly line nonsense. It's like we're really thinking through. And you look at how he shoots some of it. It's like you would have to think it through. You couldn't just slap a camera down and say go.
I have to say, I have to bring this up real quick. I was watching an interview yesterday with Orson Welles, and he's like, in the interviewer's like, "Oh yeah, you know, you worked in the Golden Age, which was like this Fordist assembly line model." And Orson Welles' reply was, the studio system is the most idiotic of industrial things. And if we were to compare it to cars, then every car that would come out of that factory would break down within driving it out of the factory because it's so poorly and chaotically done. Anyway, I just love that. The Orson Welles is so scathing sometimes.
Yeah, well, it's like every now and then, like I'll get little clips of him in interviews from on Instagram, and there's one. It's come up several times, and it cracks me up every time he's on. Well, I think it's Johnny Carson, and whoever the other guest is, like, takes a jab at his weight, and it's just like, oh yes, like, I'm fat and you're ugly, but I can diet. It's like, oh, jeez, that's brutal. That's fantastic and brutal.
Oh man! All right, so should we start with the silent era? And I guess our focal point here, and the reason we got into Hawks was none of us had seen Scarface, right?
Yeah.
So that's
the
original.
original.
That's the original Scarface, right? Which. So we'll talk about. Should we start with silent era into talkies?
Yeah, like if we could go in order, and if I've got his IMDb up here as well. So if at some point we need to screen share that, just let me know. I've got it available. Sure. So Scarface, we're going all the way to 1932.
Yeah, let's rewind it a little bit before that, because to talk about Scarface, you have to talk about Howard Hughes.
Yeah,
which is one of the this is so, you know, because they've collaborated twice.
So, I believe so. That's one thing when I turned Scarface on and it had, like, you know, Howard Hughes, you know, produced. It's like, oh god, like, that's right. I forgot about that. I need to go watch The Aviator again.
Right. So all right. He had made I think A Girl in Every Port was the first. He had made a bunch of pictures that
first big one for sure.
Yeah, that was the first comedy where he started figuring out the Hawksian love triangle thing where it's often two men, but it's really like the best through a woman. These two men find that they are really best friends, and that they, what in the end, it's really the first bromance, right? And it was considered very modern at the time coming out, and this was right at the transition of silent into talkies. So he had done 4 pictures, I believe, before.
The Girl in Every Port's 1928. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, that is his 5th film. So
Warner Brothers Sam Warner had said, we're gonna make Jazz Singer, right? He's the guy that really heralded the first talking picture, and then after that, all of the money started pouring in from that. So all the studios decided, hey, we need to jump on this wagon. So what we're going to do is retrofit some of our films. Like after they've been shot, we're going to add talking scenes, which is really bizarre. Like how you can go from shooting a film with slates and performances like that to having them suddenly talk on screen. I'm not sure they were really, but it's not like the studios don't do that now, where they just kind of half-assed rush into an idea of like, well, this is popular, so let's add it in here.
Yeah, it's like we're sort of jerry-rigging in something that we think the public will like, even though it was never planned for.
So the studio decided to do this. He was done with Girl. So they had another director come in and shoot those scenes, shoot the talkie scenes, which he didn't really direct. And it came out, and they were like, "Oh, but there's a problem with these talkies. These scenes, they don't really work." So there was concern at the studios with pretty much every silent era director, is that they didn't know how to direct actors, actually direct them to speak and to block, and so what was often happening is they were taking theatrical directors from plays and things and bringing them in to do the films, right? And then a lot of like the D.W. Griffiths or some of the other guys that they just had a harder time making that transition into from silent into the talkies. And Hawks, oftentimes what made Hawks's first full sound film was The Dawn Patrol, right?
Yeah, that's 1930.
I'm wrong. It's not Girl in Every Port that they added the talking scenes to. It was a film he made after that, The Air Circus.
Okay, yeah. Also 1928.
Yeah, it was the Air Circus that they grafted on the extra talking scenes. And he, Hawks was a flight instructor during World War I. So he was in Texas training pilots how to fly, and so he had a fascination with aviation and putting it in films. And he said, "Hey, this is daring material. Let's shoot it." And Air Circus was a really big hit, and so he decided his first talking picture was going to be The Dawn Patrol, which is World War I sort of suicide mission, man on a mission film where he's got to bomb a munitions factory deep into Germany. So as he's making The Dawn Patrol, Howard Hawks is making Hell's Angels, and Hell's Angels is also a suicide mission. World War I.
Sorry, real quick. You mean Howard Hughes?
I'm sorry, Howard Hughes. Yes, Howard Hughes was also making his big. He was directing this thing called Hell's Angels. It was an incredibly expensive movie for the time. I think something like $3 million.
Yeah,
absolutely unheard of. And so Hughes gets wind of Dawn Patrol and decides to sue Hawks and Warner Brothers, I believe, for copyright infringement, saying he ripped off the Hell's Angels on the Dawn Patrol. So they had met in court and they had fought in court, but somehow they came out of this fight and realized that they actually kind of liked each other, because they're both kind of soft-spoken and they're both kind of tough guys, but they loved aviation, and they were the types of guys that didn't really want to. They were individualists that weren't great within the studio systems.
Yeah.
So they had kind of kind of formed this loose friendship after, suing each other. And and Hawks went off.
I mean, what better way? Like, it's like that's how to make friends, is you just find someone to sue.
That's it, John. We gotta sue each other. All right. So Hawks, Dawn Patrol comes out, and one of the fascinating parts about Dawn Patrol is that his performances at that time, a lot of the performances are very histrionic, meaning they're really big theatrical things. So every time, very, very emotive. And Hawks was like, no, people don't talk like that. They let's write dialogue that seems fairly real to the way soldiers would talk to each other, and let's have them talk like soldiers talk to each other. And this is kind of a gamble, being your first talking picture. And the dailies are coming in, and they're like, producers are like, what the hell are we looking at here? Like, this is boring. They're not giving these big performances like we're seeing everywhere else. And Hawks is like, don't worry, trust me. But they're also seeing the aviation footage come in that's really good. And so anyway, the film turns out really well. It's a big hit when it comes out. And then he ends up making The Criminal Code, which is a film that's sort of a commentary on crime and sort of where the judicial system and sort of some of the issues of punishment that they're dealing with is specifically through prohibition. So that film, he makes that film, and then it's another success, does very well. And again, it's a little more underplayed, like his previous film, which everybody at the time was like, oh, this is an interesting way to direct, to have more subtle performances. And so he makes The Criminal Code, and at that point they want to make another picture with him, and Howard Hughes comes along and says, let's make I want to make the biggest gangster, the most epic gangster film that's ever been made, that's incredibly violent, that pushes the envelope in every single way, and let's make it together. So he approaches Hawks, and Hawks is really excited, but they can't get a studio to back the film, because Hawks and Hughes have they're like, hey, this is too crazy, too violent. Yeah, gangster films are making a ton of money right now, because at this point, The Public Enemy and Little Caesar have come out, and they've all made a whole lot of money. And this was the beginning of gangster films, but there's also the beginning of the Hays Code, which is implied onto which does one of you guys want to talk about the Hays Code at all, or do you want me to go off on that?
We should give it in, I would say, do a code in brief. So, I mean, you had, what year was the Hays Code? So one of my, and what I'll use as an example on, in terms of a film that I really quite have grown up enjoying, is the original King Kong.
Right.
And that came out in 1933. And there's the 33 cut and the 38 cut. And what happened in between was the Hays Code, and that's sort of this, an early version of the MPAA. And we can't have them. The public cannot be seeing this. They'll become immoral. Mm-hmm. So if you look at the 33 cut of King Kong, there's a lot of these, the shots of him like stomping on people or like chewing people, or there's sort of the really famous scene where Kong has got Fay Ray, and he's like, what is this? And it's like pulling bits of her clothes off. So it's like all that stuff had to go. So there was a ton of stuff that because of this code that between violence, sexual content, that was not allowed in film, and you kind of had to skirt around it. to get some of that edgier material in there. And going through these lists, particularly with when I get to bringing up Baby, that one has you can see sort of the wordplay jokes in there. We're skirting around this. You've set your rules. We're going to find a way around the rules.
Right.
It's kind of how, at least that's how it played for me. But it's your early version of the NPAA, where a bunch of people are trying to dictate what's correct for the viewing public to see. Have I summed that up correctly enough?
Yeah. Essentially, yeah. It's because the studio systems were both producers and distributors and exhibitors. It was a monopoly, and there was only a few of them that existed. So the Hayes, and it was first name Hayes Code because of the I think William Hayes. I might be wrong on his first name, but then it started in 1930 in a general concern by somebody. It's a bunch of politicians, and so they had offices. So every movie that was from development all the way to release, they had to go through them at the studio, and so it couldn't. And because you couldn't release a film outside of the studios because they own the theaters, it had to go through. They had an iron grip essentially, and everything had to go through the Hayes office. So they would give notes on your script before you even started shooting, and apparently the Scarface had the record number of notes given at like 400 or 500 pages of notes from Hayes, and the various scripts that had come across. So and now it's worth probably talking about Ben Hecht, who ended up adapting the Armitage Trail novel, which is the same novel that the 80s Scarface is based off of. So Ben Hecht had won the first Oscar for original screenplay for Underworld, so they hired him on for some extraordinary amount of money that he charged Hughes. He's like, so the studios also should mention, I'm jumping around a bit here. Hughes couldn't get this thing greenlit at a studio because of all the violence and all of the issues with the Hayes Code. And he really didn't want to make it at a studio, but he had to try to find a way to get them to distribute it. And also the studios, they didn't want some outsider making a movie and doing it their own way. They wanted this might send a bad signal. So the studios kind of wanted to sabotage this thing from the outset in many ways. And I think they did that kind of through the Hayes office. I mean, that's the way Hawks and Hughes viewed it, but it's an interesting the politics in getting this thing made. They ran them through so many hoops.
I imagine. I mean, because let's say throwing this movie on, the thing that I really walked away from is just like, for some reason in my head, if I think of movies from the 30s, it's like, you can put your kids down and like they'll be fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And you watch the original Scarface, and it's like, this is incredibly violent. Yeah. This is an incredibly violent movie.
Angry, cynical.
Yeah. There is a lot of Tommy guns, and the way they film it is so innovative and action packed and very, very modern.
Yeah.
For the time. And it was just like, I found it now in 2026 to be shocking. I can't imagine what somebody in 1932, this probably would have blown their damn minds.
Yeah.
He underscores a lot of that, though, the violence in this. And then in other movies, I'm sure we'll talk about later, he underscores so much with like subtle comedy. Like Scarface, there's funny parts of it I found. It's so funny how they're getting, he and his friend are kind of getting, pinned down and under fire, and then he kind of discovers they've got some sort of gun that can do rapid fire like that, and he's like tickled that about finding a Tommy gun, and he's so excited to like get his hands on one. And then when he has the girl over to his apartment, and like all he wants to show her is his shutters that are bulletproof. You can like look outside and like I got a new car and it has bulletproof windows, and he's just so like pleased with himself and happy to be a criminal, and like has no other ulterior motives at all. Which it's, I don't know, refreshing is an interesting word to use, but like there was kind of like a juvenile like purity to his character. That's all he cared about. Like it's which, and like I said, there's other moments in his filmography where something does happen in a different film by a different director. It's extremely dramatic or sad, but it's instantly turned into something that's kind of comedic. And so there's definitely a really strong comedic side to Hawks that he puts into even the most dramatic or violent of movies just like this.
The secretary in the back, hello. It's the bullets as he's dodging bullets.
Right. Like, ask for the name. He's trying to like coach him through how to like take a phone call. No, I don't know. I had never, like I said, that's of course none of us had seen it, so we watched it, but I was laughing a lot. I found it to be quite funny. And I'm glad we don't speak like that anymore. It's crazy how like the cadence of the time.
I will say it's the most, and when people think of like the gangster picture, it really where they talk like this is it basically comes right from here, and everyone is like they talk very, very fast, and see, we're gonna take over the town. See, this is our territory.
Yeah, the Eddie G. I really recommend Mervyn LeRoy's Little Caesar.
Yeah,
it's awesome. It's a tight, small film. I mean, my one big common critique of the film is that the sets are really bare bones and cheap. Like that, it was a little lazy. But like the way he transitions and moves the camera, Leroy does, it's so innovative for the time, you know. And I think that's another thing to talk about with Hawks, to go back just slightly. German Expressionism and his style. The beginning of it, he was really affected by Fritz Lang and a lot of the expressionists at that time, and so he kind of played around with that in his early films, and even through Criminal Code. And you see a little bit of it in Scarface, like with the silhouette stuff. Some of the transitional material. It's pretty stylized. And then as his career kind of goes, a few pictures after that, after Scarface, he really cuts back on the heavy stylization. Just puts the camera right there at eye level. It just doesn't. It's not about the trickery anymore. But you still see little shades of like an early Hawks kind of figuring out who he is in Scarface.
And I will say that the big theme that I pulled away for this film is people. I think it's sort of a running theme throughout these films is on some level, masculinity, and really with Scarface, it's just like, man, this really is unchecked, toxic masculinity. This is a bad dude, and like throughout the film, he's just, like you said, reveled in a juvenile way, reveling in being a criminal. Meanwhile, he's giving his sister shit for dancing with a guy, and it's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like, what are you expecting of? This is totally irrational, and what are you expecting of this woman? And that to me was really, really very, very interesting.
Well, apparently when they were writing the characters, he said, he told Ben Hecht, he said, I want their relationship to be, or supposedly he said this, oftentimes it was the writer that came up with it. But anyway, he wanted to model their relationship after the Borgias, after Lucrezia Borgia, right? And which had a incestuous relationship with her family.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's the implication, is that there's kind of some
it's like your mind.
Happening. Yeah.
No, it's really, really real. That's I lasered in on that. And then when they did the car chase, how that is shot and from an action perspective, it's not like anything I've seen in other movies from the 30s. It feels very modern, and it's like they're on a street actually doing legit car stunts. It's not there's rear screen projection in there, but it's intercut with
right.
like it's got like actual cars. It's just like it's wild and just heart pumpingly well shot and well cut.
So a lot of Hawks's action sequences were shot by his director of photography as a second unit, right?
Mhm.
And one thing that a lot of people credit to Hawks is that he was one of the first guys to use second unit direction and to use his cinematographer to do that. And yeah, those car chases were second unit things, and pretty much in most of his films that he gets credit for, he gets the credit for the fact that it's really the DP that went out and shot the material. And you see that sometimes, like, and that's a thing where sometimes the second units they don't get the love that they should.
No.
It almost seems like an Oscar category that has gone unspoken for, but I guess there's so many other categories that still haven't been represented.
His movies too, like especially with this one, Scarface, it gets into the action so quickly, and then it goes until essentially the last frame, which does not feel like movies of today. Like a lot of movies of today, like insist on 20 minutes of setting backstory and stage and stuff, where his movies, regardless of the genre, they maybe give you 5 minutes at the beginning, and then you're going. Whether it is an action movie, whether it's a Western movie, whether it's whether all the action's in the dialogue, it's going, and it doesn't really stop until, like for instance, like this, not to spoil Scarface, but he's away at the end and dies. Or whether it's Red River, they're like fist fighting at the very end. Whether it's His Girl Friday, they're on the phone arguing until like the very end. Like it doesn't stop, and then it goes, and then like the title,
it's over.
The end drops, which is so different. When you watch a movie today, that has to almost have a return of normalcy.
Yeah, it's got
5 minutes.
That bring it in for a landing rather than just stop it.
And I like that. I enjoy that about a lot of classic movies. How it gets you in and then it gets out, and it leaves it up to the viewer to kind of put together some backstory or what's going to maybe even happen in the next few days, if you do think like that.
And so to that point, because of the Hays Code and having to reshoot so much of the material, the Hays made them change the end of the picture. So there's an alternate version where basically he is sent to he goes to court, they capture him, he goes out, the grand shootout happens, they capture him, he goes to court, says, "I'm sorry for everything I did," and then they take him out, and then they hang him. Yeah, then they hang him, and then that's the end of the movie. And then and it's just like that's they had to play that version in New York to get around the Hays Code.
So they did. Okay, I was going to ask. So they did shoot that version.
They did, yeah, and it did play. But other areas where they weren't so strict on the Hays Code, they sent the original version, which is the one that we've seen.
Yeah,
and it actually it took a while because the film had so many issues with violating this code that the film was actually put away for a while. Hughes had put it in his vault, and it wasn't really re-released until the 70s. So it was sort of this thing that the appreciation and love for the film didn't come. I mean, it was, when it came out, it made a lot of money. It was popular. People really loved it. I mean, you had the George Raft flip of the coin became iconic, right? And I mean, a lot of that stuff did, but it really wasn't until the 70s that it kind of the film history community came to it, when after Hughes had died and they released his vault.
Well, and it's like interesting with where you bring up this alternate ending where he's hanged. I think that's a far less effective like if you're trying to convince people that crime doesn't pay, it's like, okay, it's like you're making a big deal about Johnny Law and the cops are gonna get you, but not like realistically, like you could just get straight up shot.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be very violent, and is that really what you want for yourself? And I think that's much punchier and much more effective if you're trying to actually make a point.
Agreed. Yeah, it's an interest, and I think the X's are really neat. Did you guys catch that? Every time somebody was shot, they made sure to put an X in each scene. So do you notice in the St. Valentine's Massacre where it starts on the rafters and it's a bunch of X's along the rafters? They come down, and then that's the number of people that are shot. Right. When he goes in the hospital, in the background, there's an X where he gets shot. And like there's a street lamp. Every time somebody dies, he foreshadows it or shows it at the time of death with an X, because apparently that's what they did in the newspapers at the time. They had X's, so it's like one of those cool stylistic Easter eggs that when you watch the film, you get.
See, now I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again and look for that. Like I can't sort of like with Godfather, I can't not see the oranges now.
Yeah, which is apparently Coppola said was an homage to the X's in Scarface.
Nice.
Yeah. All so, right. Do you guys want to keep talking about Scarface?
Or? Oh no, sorry.
I
think you're gonna say his next movie.
So he made a racing film next. Do you want to talk about that? Did either of you guys watch that?
I stuck to the
until Bringing Up Baby.
Yeah, I think that
Scarface.
Yeah, I think it'd be the same with actually technically I'm looking at the IMDb, the list that we narrowed down. The next one chronologically is His Girl Friday in 1940.
Bringing Up Baby is 1938. That would be
1938, or am I? Oh, what? Yeah, you're right. I'm blind, / not wearing my glasses. Sam, you are correct. Bringing Up Baby is first, which was a wild movie. And
did you like it?
It's great. You don't see this type of screwball comedy at all. And I'm sort of watching it downstairs, and like my dad is around, sort of like up and down, like going about his day. And at some point, like halfway through the movie, he's just like, "What the hell are you watching?" Just like, "Oh, so again, Bringing Up Baby, Cary Grant, and he's like, "Oh, I thought I heard Cary Grant." So it's just like, that's how wacky this movie. Like if you're the person not watching the movie, just going about your day, and the other person in the house is watching this movie, and there's all of this shenanigans going on, there is that level of like, what the hell is this?
Right.
And it's very, very silly and very, very delightful. Like if that is the vocabulary word I would pick, is delightful.
Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely is. And he apparently he had made this movie 20th Century, which was, I guess, known for being one of the first films to have. Oftentimes, it was always the secondary characters that had the screwball, antics. And 20th Century, it was. Now I'm forgetting the name of the actor that stars in it.
Wasn't it John Barrymore and
John Barrymore? Yes. Yeah. So John Barrymore and Lombard, which was a cousin of Hawks, they are doing the screwball comedy things. Lombard's just this like pretentious asshole, basically, a director, and there's just this wild, one line after another. They're just on top of each other. Really silly film, and that's how he got to make Bringing Up Baby.
Oh.
Wow. It is the perfect use of Cary Grant. Like
it is,
and it's like if Hawks had this idea especially back in the mid 30s with 20th Century, to do this kind of screwball comedy. And maybe Cary Grant really wasn't in his world yet, but when I could see them meeting and then him wanting to do this, because Cary Grant, I think he was in the circus before he was an actor. And so he had this very acrobatic and kind of trapeze-like quality to him, which he, takes kind of in his whole career. And you even see, even late in his career, he does some stuff. But anyway, this was kind of the first use of it. And I know that in researching this movie, he was obsessed with Harold Lloyd as well. And you see a lot of that in this performance. And even him wearing the little spectacles was supposed to be Harold Lloyd. Harold Lloydish, and so he could have that effect. And he and I think Katharine Hepburn supposedly got along great because she was one of the few leading ladies he would work with who was willing to do the screwball stuff with him and take herself not too seriously and fall and stumble and get on top, fall on the dinosaur at the end and stumble.
Yeah, you can tell. I mean, I feel like sometimes you can tell when actors just like each other, and you can tell the two of them just got along famously. And it was sort of a perfect example of forget where the term came from, where Hepburn is playing that manic pixie dream girl character who sort of swoops in and changes your introverted guy's life for the better.
Right.
And similarly to how Hawks was kind of trying to get out of the typical studio framework and system, so was Grant, because I know in the 30s he was losing part after part after part to Gary Cooper and Frederick March. He was like the third guy. Going to all these auditions for these very dramatic roles and lose them. And then Hawks kind of discovers him as like, okay, you're just as handsome as these guys, but you're funny too. And you have this acrobatic quality to you. I can use you and make he kind of subverts, how handsome and put together he is. Because like nobody who looks like that traditionally is goofy and silly and like stumbling and bumbling. But he uses him in a perfect way in a lot of these movies. Similar, it reminds me a little bit of Leonardo DiCaprio now, how he is getting increasingly funny in a lot of his movies and kind of subverting his own movie star qualities and looks. And
he's willing.
Battle, he's like falling over and tripping and like screaming and cussing, and that's
he's willing to do this sort of goofy stuff where you think of other actors that on this list of movies that we went through, like Humphrey Bogart isn't going to be doing like he's not going to do this physical comedy. I think it speaks well of actors who are willing to do the comedy and not take themselves so seriously. I think there is something you really need to respect about that attitude, because it's hard to make people laugh. That is not. I feel like a lot of folks think that comedy is easy. It is not easy to make people laugh at all.
No.
And because he's got those actors like Hepburn and Grant who are kind of willing to put themselves on the line like that, it impacts the way that the photography works, because he does so many of these wides that just kind of you watch the whole scene play out, and whether it's Katharine Hepburn's dress ripping and he's trying to cover it up, or him running the dog running in with the bone, and there's all these scenes where they're not like modern day. You're cutting to a reaction shot of somebody else so that it tells the audience this is where you're supposed to laugh. And that can work and it's funny, but if you can just hold this wide and you're just letting these two comedic geniuses just do their thing, that puts the onus on the audience of like, all right, this is funny. I know it's funny. I'm going to laugh anyway. And, it's more interesting, to watch. It's easy. It's easy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it also, it comes down to the writing too, and some of these just snappy, like really subtle jokes. And where again, I think this one in particular, particularly with the bone as a prop, particularly at the beginning, there's a bunch of lines, and I should have written some of them down where they put the word bone in the sentence, and it's just like, oh, that's dirt. That is some dirty shit there. You you are skirting around some rules, my friend.
Apparently,
and I love it.
They improvised a fair amount of that stuff, and they got even dirtier. But the Hayes office made them kind of cut some of the stuff back and like stuff it further in innuendo, basically. Even though
that's what she said.
Right.
Sorry.
And so yeah, it's apparently this also had some issues at the Hayes office, and apparently I think it's Cary Grant was terrified of the leopard. He did not want to be in scenes with that thing.
Which I just like that was the one like conceit of the film where like I'm with this idea that someone like ordered an online leopard somewhere. Like, is that could you do that in the 1930? Yeah, because is that a thing you could do? Could you just like? I mean, I suppose if you had enough money, maybe you could. But like, is this really what the plot is? This is what the plot is. The plot is around this random pet leopard that she has.
There's scenes where the leopard is in the actual scene, and they have basically a pane of glass between the actor and the leopard. But you can tell at times that the actors are still kind of like.
I mean, they're scared. I mean, they're scared. They're at the end of the day, they are wild animals, and they have lots of claws, and but they're scary.
But for like the scene of the dog and the leopard, this is what I alluded to earlier with kind of how innovative he was. They used this newer technology called it was called an optical printer, and if I understand how it worked, it was like they would shoot the dog and then they would shoot the leopard, and then they would kind of be able to print both and splice it together so it looked like they were interacting together. And that really wasn't done a lot in films back then. He was one of the first ones. I think he met some guy who kind of really knew how they worked, and he was kind of like, why aren't we using this in movies, and brought him onto his sets. So yeah, that's another example of kind of how modern he was and forward thinking, and
it's I would say an excellent example of problem solving on like, how are we going to get this and this together? Like,
right. I mean, you still split comps. That's what you call them in edit, right? Yeah. You take one. You have one take you like, and another take. Two different performances that weren't necessarily the same take.
Yeah.
And you're trying to find that exact space to cut it. And sometimes, like, I know on a few of the film I'm working on now, and like on The Last of Us and a couple of Ozark, even we had to pay a visual effects artist to reframe the shots so that they could line up next to each other just right, so that so it looked seamless.
Yeah,
but it's kind of a trick. But yeah, it's still something used now. But I think
one of this was years ago. I was post-production assisting on it ended up being straight to video, but a Blumhouse film, and they were having me just sort of experiment on like, well, we like the movement, like we like the head and the performance in this take, but the body movements are better in this other take. Try and throw this in After Effects, try and like take her head off the one and effectively put it on the other. It got pretty, like, there were a couple of them that I was able to get really, really darn close, but it just didn't quite work. But it's sort of insane that's you watch any film, that is stuff that they do now is well, maybe we can take this from one take and this from the other take and cut them out and glue them together, and it's kind of it's pretty amazing what you can do in post-production.
That's right. I mean, this is all like a testament to how collaborative Hawks was. Like he if somebody had an idea, oftentimes he'd let him exercise it. He wasn't a bossy director. It wasn't, he would stand back and watch a lot of the performances. He would rely, if it wasn't a good performance, obviously he'd step in and try to fix it. But he would hire, much like Friedkin, right, that we talked about before. He trusted the decisions in pre-production that had been made, and he trusted his actors to get that they would do the right thing. And like, if they wanted to improvise a scene, then they would. And apparently when they were making Bringing Up Baby, they just they went way over in the shoot. Like, I think it was double the length that it was scheduled to be. I might be wrong on that, but because they kept on, stopping to do things. One day they just stopped production and went to the racetrack. Like Hepburn and Cary Grant and like, and there would have, and apparently Hepburn liked having tea breaks for the whole crew. So she'd pay for tea for them to bring in tea so everybody in the crew could have a tea break, and that slowed things down to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But
he's such a comedy genius, I think. Hawks, like, there's like the scene at the golf course has like everything, at the beginning, because he's in the parking lot, she's trying to drive away with his car, and he's trying to keep her from because he keeps saying it's his car that she's in, and there's that back and forth talking over each other, which is so well written and funny. At the same time, there's a physical element to it because he keeps like trying to get in front of the car and stop it. And then he keeps looking out to the guy he's supposed to be playing golf with, who just keeps getting further and further away. The frame is like this big, which is such a funny gag. He turns and he's like minuscule, and he's like waving to him. And so you're laughing at three different levels. And I don't know, it's a great scene with one of those things. And then it has like all three, which, and it probably took a lot longer to get to that in the shoot.
Yeah. But,
that's a testament to why, you give a director freedom to operate, outside of the studio system a little bit. And, that's not that you don't land on that if you have to stick to such a strict schedule and,
Right.
And I would love to see somebody today tackle some sort of like an absurdist comedy of that style, where it's like, this is goofy. Like like you said, all of the comedy working together, and it's like, this is goofy fun, and we're giving the audience just a good time, even though it's like it's conceptually like, what am I even watching here?
Right.
It just was, again, delightful to watch.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I go back and forth between this and His Girl Friday is my favorite,
which is next on the list.
Yeah, and I would say, I think His Girl Friday of the list that we watched is the one that I connected with the most, on a lot of levels, and it's just like, at some point, if I get on a soapbox, you guys are gonna have to kick me off of it. Just so much of what's in the script is still 100% relevant today when it comes to politics and journalism.
Right.
And the way that, against, like, the politicians are obviously, villains, and they're catering to, it's like, we don't care if we've got this guy who, like, innocent or guilty, like, he's gonna get, this voting bloc wants him executed, so that's what's gonna happen, we're not gonna care. And then you've got the journalists who are out for the scoop, and it's almost like this, it's a drug. Like, I found the end to be where Rosalind Russell and Cary Grant get together to be this very, it's not like, it was not a happy ending to me, because they're not like, right. It's not based on love in any meaningful way. It's based on, like, you love the chase and the journalism, and I can offer you that. Right. And journalists as a whole, it goes out there and it says, yeah, they could be kind of scurrilous, self-centered people. And I connected with that in my, like, dirty Republican way. So yes, again, kick me when the soapbox gets too high, kick me right off of it. But I love it. I really, it's funny, and I loved it, and I loved how still relevant it is at every level.
Right.
If that rambling nonsense made sense at all. Sorry.
Yeah. So it's based off of a play called the Front Page or Front Page, one of the things.
Front Page, yeah, I believe.
Which is apparently like a chamber drama that takes place in a news office, right? And what it was known for is having very fast. The play was known for
Mhm.
having very fast dialogue because that's what it was like in newsrooms. You had, if you're gonna make the front page, information is flying quickly and people have to communicate at a very maximum rate. And so that was the goal when they were making this film, is to capture that back and forth. And this is like, many would cite this as sort of the peak of the Hawksian dialogue.
Mhm. Which they absolutely nail. I mean, imagine being one of these actors. You can't afford to not know your dialogue
Right.
in order to deliver it this fast and this effectively. So the
Yeah.
actors really, really had to go to work
Yeah.
on their memorization.
Absolutely. And it's worth saying that even though the play had fast dialogue, Hawks wanted to double what the play had done to make this thing really fast. And I should point this out, to go back to Howard Hughes for a minute. Apparently he made a version of Front Page.
Really?
1931, right?
Yeah, I have not seen it. I'd be curious to see it.
Maybe it wasn't that one. I know that, you know what, that's not Howard Hughes' version, but it was adapted into a movie in 1931.
Right.
Not Hughes' version.
Maybe I was wrong in the...
But that apparently didn't have the same pace of dialogue as the play, but there were it was cut very quickly, and that's what propelled the story. And Hawks saw it and was like what you were saying, he's like, I think it worked better, with the fast dialogue, and I want to make it even faster. And Peter Bogdanovich interviewed him in the 70s, and he said, a lot of movies are made and people think like that's where they end. But he was looking at it being like, okay, this was made into a movie. I can make an even better one, and I can do it. I can take it. I can take this source material, which is based off of another source material, and I can, put my Hawksian dialogue into it. I can, create this great female character to go with Cary Grant, because I think the movie, it was two men were the two main characters, and then he was like, no, this is more of a two-hander, which I think all of his movies are best when it's a two-hander between a man and a woman. Those seem to be the ones that are the most entertaining. And he was like, I can put my spin on it and make it even better. And it's obviously, the one.
Well, and that is something, because Cary Grant is the top build on this, but it really it's Rosalind Russell's film. I mean, she's the protagonist more than him, and she really just owns it.
And what you were saying about the ending, and it's more about the chase, and that's kind of what the movie is like. Both literally, with chasing a story, and the chase of like Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell in it, because and it shows. It starts from the very, very beginning, just like what we talked about with Scarface, how the action starts at the very beginning. She is in the lobby with or the waiting area with Ralph Bellamy. Poor guy. This movie.
Yeah, I was just like, he's just like the whole movie. I'm like, this poor nice man who's getting totally screwed over by the end of it.
Or you could look at it as Cary Grant loved her so much he kept sending this innocent guy to jail, and so to prove it. But no, but he's literally standing up, blonde hair, like he's literally glimmering and shining, but he's so sweet, standing there, hat in hand, and you can tell she likes that, but she's like not as comfortable with that. And then she walks down like the news room, and that blocking of that is so good, and as everybody kind of
it's like the way he moves
the shot.
Like I was gonna say, when she moves through the whole movie has momentum in how it's shot and how it's cut. And
as she's walking away from him, she's like becoming more and more herself. Then she gets to Cary Grant's office, and you don't even really see Cary Grant clearly for a moment. A lot of movies, especially anything with romance, she walks in and there's some reuniting, and then there's like a close-up of her and a close-up of him, and it's a little bit dramatic, and there's a music swell. They don't do that. She walks in, he's getting a shave, and there's a guy standing over him. They're yelling, and she's there, just kind of waiting for his attention. He turns and his back's to the camera, and all you see is her reaction and Duffy's reaction, the news editor. And all you kind of hear the murmurs coming from Cary Grant, and then you finally see Cary Grant when he sits down. There's the dramatic kind of close up of him grinning, lighting a cigarette. Like he's been waiting for her to come back.
Yeah.
And he wants her to wait on him. He wants her to kind of be at his feet, but she doesn't do that. She sits up on the desk, and so now there's like a different power.
Yeah.
And then he finally brings himself to her level. They're both sitting on the desk, and then like the rest of the movie is sparring, and he's chasing her the whole movie. And then in the end, they get married again, and he flips back to what he was before. Like he doesn't hold the door for her. He's like making her carry her bags. She's chasing him down the hall.
Yeah.
So the whole movie is that, and it's shown in the blocking. And to what I mentioned earlier about not insisting on some sort of backstory about their whole relationship. There's one line in the movie that kind of tells it. At some point, he's like, "When I found you, you were a doll-faced hick." Basically meaning like she was like some like kind of, she wasn't this city girl. She was like, the country mouse.
Yeah.
Slow talking, a lot like the criminal, a lot like Ralph Bellamy. And she created her whole identity to be just like him. And then kind of surpassed him, and then he's chasing her the whole time.
Yeah.
So that kind of tells you everything you need to know, about the relationship in one line. And he lets the blocking and a couple of clever lines kind of demonstrate their whole relationship.
And what I think, and this was like, what was this 30? This is 1940, and you've got a professional woman crushing it at what she does. The movie is very clear that she is talented at journalism and has a passion for it, and she holds her own against every male character in the script. Like, and essentially there is no one in that newsroom who doesn't think she is bad at her job.
I mean, he admits that like she's better at the job than he is. Like, yeah. And I think it's pretty. I think it's I think it's the funniest. I think it's funnier than Bringing Up Baby. Even it's
like bringing Up Baby is very. I as much as I love the goofy, like I do, on a narrative level, His Girl Friday is it sucks you in just a little bit more, and I think it's a little bit more focused and grounded. And
it's and just the way that Cary Grant's kind of clowning Ralph Bellamy the whole time, like shakes the umbrella, clowns him for having boots on. Like they get to the restaurant, and just the way it's shot, it shows them sitting at that table together, and Ralph Bellamy immediately like puts a napkin on his lap. And you see him like kind of fussing with the napkin. And you don't. Cary Grant presumably does as well, but Cary Grant sitting there smoking, speaking fast, and even gets something spilt on him, but still looks way cooler than Ralph Bellamy does.
It's like I think part of it is just like having been often the Ralph Bellamy person. Like the entire movie, I'm like, oh my God, I just want to give this poor man a hug and tell him it's going to be okay.
Even when he's like telling the woman who he sends to set up Ralph Bellamy, she's like, "What does he look like?" And he's like, "He looks like that Ralph Bellamy fellow in the movie." Like she's like, someone that like people recognize but really don't think is that important. And I mean, and it is a a pessimistic kind of cynical movie in some ways, but like you hear comedians of today talk about sometimes how a tragedy can happen, and like a comedian will think about like what's funny about it pretty instantly, and you have to kind of have to see like when's too soon to say something. Like famously, like Norm Macdonald went on Jon Stewart's show and joked about the crocodile hunter like the day the crocodile was killed. And so but like in this movie, I think her name is Molly, she throws herself out the window, and it's immediately used for a scene of comedy. Like Cary Grant comes in, doesn't care. She's like, she just went out the window. He's like, He's like, and he goes into the desk, and the guy's like, "You gonna let me out of here?" He's like, "No, sit tight," and shuts it again. It's like all played.
I would be fascinated to. Do either of you know? Is there a version of the cut where she dies when she goes out the window.
I always forget that she does that, and it's so funny every time.
Like, because it's like one of those like, holy shit, that just happened.
There's
like, because I mean, for a split second the movie stops because it's like this woman just went out the window. Is she like what? It's like somebody might have just died.
She's certainly the moral sort of through line, I would say, in the thing, because there's also that other scene where she first comes in and the reporters are all talking and they're all, you know, blowing her off, and she, hey, you framed me, you like change the story, you don't know what you're doing in my life, you lied, and you do this just, you know, just to get your best scoop. And all the reporters are like, nonsense, you know, you don't know what you're talking about, child. Mm-hmm. And then the door closes and we sit in silence, and the weight of the reporters as they all feel so incredibly guilty about what they've just done, and that like they all play it off as being funny and that they don't really care, but on some level they know that they've made a pact to sell their souls and they're doing something terrible and they feel horrible about it. And then later on when she jumps out the window, and then we come back around, but he gives you just enough time as an audience to just bring you right down and make you feel the weight of that moment, just to take you right back out. And keep going. And he doesn't sit there and glamorize any of it.
And it's like those quiet moments give the rest of it so much more punch, that little, just that space to breathe. And I would say it was my favorite of the ones of our list. I just like, it's like, I love this movie. Like this must be on Criterion Collection. Like it is must buy.
I watched it this morning on my disc. Yeah,
buddy.
It's I don't know what you guys think about this, but of his major kind of collaborations, I think it's Grant, Gary Cooper, John Wayne, and Humphrey Bogart. What would you guys say you lean toward as far as your favorite collaboration you got? Mine's Grant, but I could see.
Oof.
I'd probably say Grant too, but he uses Cooper so well. But Cooper is just like so the one we watched, Sergeant York, was the one we watched with Gary Cooper.
And Ball of Fire, if you watched that.
Yeah, I missed that one, but
that was good. That was fun.
Because like for comedy, like he seems to be at the most at home with Gary Cooper. Like everyone seemed completely simpatico on what they were doing. Not Gary Cooper, Cary Grant.
Yeah.
Cary Grant. With his Girl Friday, Bringing Up Baby, like everybody seemed on the same page, and it coalesced. I do think he used John Wayne I have not seen a ton of John Wayne films, but it really, Red River and Rio Bravo challenged a little bit the way that I think of John Wayne, particularly Red River. So I'd say Cary Grant, John Wayne.
Interesting.
On that list.
Right.
I had a little bit of a time with Bogart, with the names is
To Have and
Have Not. It was so close in narrative and style to Casablanca that it felt a little bit like I've seen this movie before, but better.
Right.
Like not that To Have and Have Not is a bad movie. It isn't. It's just Casablanca is the masterpiece version of a very similar story.
So we should.
I forgot Walter Brennan. I guess he's the.
Yeah, after a while.
Shut
up and can we move on already?
Kept him employed.
He definitely kept Walter Brennan employed. That might actually be a good time to jump to Sergeant York, because that was the best Walter Brennan performance of these films, because it actually allowed him to be something that wasn't just like, I'm the crazy old loon.
Yeah.
I think that's our next one. Let me
Yeah, it is.
I feel like Sam, like I can't talk about this movie seriously. So Sam, if you want to handle this,
it's always been like you guys remember my office at Merritt Street? It had all those movies. All of us did.
Yeah,
but I had a lot of on that wall, and this was up there. I like this movie. It's I think it's one of the first movies I remember seeing. I think that's what it is, as far as like a grown-up movie. Like it wasn't and I think I always liked it because we talked about this over text, Ben. Like my dad does like a Walter Brennan impersonation, and it was just always funny. And he would do that whole church scene, which watching this reminds me. That church scene of Alvin coming to church, it reminds me of There Will Be Blood, but it's the opposite. Like there's so much happening there. But yeah, this movie on the rewatch, which I've rewatched it before, it's very goofy. It's like it's they make Alvin York seem unnecessarily like slow for some reason. It's like it's crazy. Like just the scene where he's like,
"What's a subway?"
When he's asking the German commander, like, "How do we get back to the front?"
Yeah,
and he's like, "Go this way." He's like, "Well, we're gonna go this way." He's like, "You're not gonna get anything by me." And so it's like I don't know. It's Gracie's really annoying. The horrible picture of Alvin's mom in the hotel room.
I will say it's like the mother was I found the most distracting performance, because it's just like when she talks, it's like if you had an edible. It's like you gotta go get your brother, Georgie. He's over at the bar.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, that's Walter Brennan, I think, was very good, and particularly in those scenes in the church, his movements are actually, because this allows him to be a little bit more specific in his movements rather than sort of dawdling the way that he is kind of, and particularly like the old time religion scene. Or like he's a little bit more like rigid and in control, which worked for me. But I will say the old time religion scene where was where, and I love how this film looks. It uses black and white. It's a gorgeously shot film.
A gorgeous movie, yeah.
It's gorgeous. It's really well cut. It's just like it's very much you can tell it's propaganda for the time of World War II, but like they get to the church scene, and it's so heavy-handed that it's just
I think that's the best scene in the movie.
It's and I'm just wondering how much of that is just
it's moving. I thought that was the best scene in the movie, and like it.
I don't necessarily disagree. It's just also the scene that, again, it's like, even as like I feel like I don't know. It's hard because I'm somewhere in the middle of on a religious level. Like, I guess lapsed Catholic is what you would describe me as. So I'm like, I'm not religious, but I'm not super duper pooper scooper religious. So that particular scene,
you're Episcopalian.
Yeah. It's just comes across as very heavy. It's like let us take this cudgel, and it's just like, you need that old time religion. And it's just like okay, it's like, yes, I understand. Stop beating me. Like that's a little bit how that scene felt to me, and it felt pandering in a way, if that makes any sense.
It also is, I think, kind of the least Hawksian of the movies we've talked about so far. And I think that's because, like, this is kind of when he's kind of at his peak, coming off of his pretty, favorable 30s, obvious, like 1930s with Scarface, 20th Century, then Bringing Up Baby, and then he just did His Girl Friday. Also, in this year, 1941, Ball of Fire comes out, which is way more Hard Hawks. But this movie, like, I think it was a pretty bad script that someone he knew who had fallen on hard times had and couldn't really been produced. and he was like, okay, I'll produce this and make it for you. I'll get Gary Cooper to star in it and kind of get this guy back on his feet. And Gary Cooper didn't want to do it because he's
really,
like,
he ended up winning an Oscar for it.
But Howard Hawks was like, look, this guy gave, I forgot who the guy's name was, but so this guy kind of gave us both our starts in Hollywood. He's kind of like not doing great. Let's take this project on. We'll punch it up a little bit and we'll make this movie.
Yeah, and it's incredibly
huge. And so I can't imagine what the original version was, but that's why it probably feels the least Hawksian. There are like the funny moments here and there.
Yeah,
like when he is behind enemy lines and he's trying to shoot the Germans and he does the turkey gobble to get them to stick their.
Oh, that's I love that. See, that's a throwback where I loved that bit.
It's not super clever, obviously, but it's funny. Like and there's like there's like the interesting side characters like Pusher, the New York guy.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a fun hang guy, which you see that I think later in some of the westerns. They're like good hangout movies, just like kind of, not the greatest movies overall, but interesting side characters that have a thing to do here and there that you enjoy watching. And this movie has some of that, but
I will say, and I looked up Sergeant York Oscars, and it won 2. Gary Cooper won Best Actor, and then it won Best Editing.
Right.
And you look at those war sequences, and it's like, I absolutely can see, like, this is a this is a really, really great sequence. Like, it's incredibly well produced, and it's like one of those it's like one of those, like, it was a film, like, I was watching it and a lot that I was enjoying, and it's just like, I think I'm getting in my own way, if that makes any sense at all, of enjoying this movie, because I'm reading a lot of 2026 things into it that probably are not intended.
Interesting.
Like, because my comparison, and I texted you guys about this, it felt to me like this is the type of thing in like an Angel Studios film,
right?
Which would like Warner Brothers would not make this movie now, but it's sort of very much a middle America centric film, very very pro religion, which is not, again, it's like I don't think that's a bad thing. I just think it's really really heavy handed about it, and I actually do think Angel Studios is getting better has over the years making stuff that's faith-based but doesn't feel like they're whacking you over the head with it.
Right.
That's sort of how I felt watching it. It felt like we're pandering to a certain segment of the country that we assume this is what you want. If that makes any sense at all.
10 years ago, Hacksaw Ridge came out 10 years ago, which is
that's the other thing. I have not seen Hacksaw Ridge, and once it's
so good.
It's about a Seventh-day Adventist who's a conscientious objector.
Yeah,
from the South, like very Alvin York kind of ish.
Yeah,
and he joins, and it's not as rosy as this movie in the way that, like, for instance, in this movie, even at boot camp, they're kind of hard on him, but not really. They're willing to kind of be open-minded. I don't necessarily think that's would have been how it went. Like in Hacksaw Ridge, they're like hard on him. Vince Vaughn like hates him and basic training.
Yeah,
he goes in as a medic, and it's very violent and very kind of gnarly in a lot of ways. But it's very good. I think it's
that's and like
so there's versions of it today. Is all I'm saying. But
I'm
definitely,
and that's one that I. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. The back half of the film, I liked the back half more. Because the front half of Sergeant York is very much the getting him from alcoholic loser to religious person, and then he gets drafted, and it's like, okay, that's where this is going. Like it's like Hacksaw Ridge. He doesn't want to be doing the thing, but his country is going to make him do it, and there's no way out of it. And it's like I was kind of with it a little bit more from there. So I liked the back half a little bit more than the front half.
Yeah.
So apparently York had a lot to say about the making of this. He had a big hand in creative choices in making this movie, which is part of the reason it is the way it is, because of York's involvement and the producer's kind of agreement with York. But it's interesting how kind of all right. So this is a little segue into the next one, but basically there's this story, whether it's true or not, that Michael Curtiz and Hawks were talking at the same time, and they both had these movies in pre-production. And Hawks is like, I don't know what I'm doing, making a story about about a bunch of redneck Virginians, and I don't know anything about these. I can't relate to them. And then Curtiz is like, yeah, I can't relate to a bunch of revolutionaries running a bar in Africa. And do you guys want to switch? You want to switch scripts and give it a try. And because apparently this was a very early version of Casablanca called A Night at Rick's or something like that was the name of the script. I mean, whether this is true or not, that was that kind of leads into Heaven to Have Not, which I believe is the next film.
Yes.
Ball of Fire is next. They came out the same year.
Yeah.
You like Ball of Fire? Did you want to talk about Ball of Fire at all?
I did not watch Ball of Fire.
You liked it, right, Ben?
Yeah, I'll do a quick pass.
I liked it a lot too. I hadn't seen it in a long time. I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. They started pre-production on it while York was finishing up, and pretty much Hawks didn't even go to the premiere of York. He was just done with the movie. He was like, this isn't really my film, but
yeah, I will say the other thing is the actress who plays the wife was very she is the most nothing burger female character of the group of films in a director's library of films where one of his hallmarks is really spunky women.
This was apparently a York input. And either it was Rita Hayworth who he had worked with he wanted to have Rita Hayworth, or maybe it was who's the actress that was in Jail Right Before.
Jane Russell. She would have been really young, and he did work with Rita Hayworth the year before, and Only Angels Have Wings.
It's a great movie if you guys get a chance.
I haven't seen. Is that correct me if I'm right? Is Only Angels Have Wings? Is that sort of the rough inspiration for in Home Alone?
No,
Angels with Dirty Faces.
Yeah, okay, so
no, it's Cary Grant and Gene Arthur, and he's like a pilot that runs dangerous assignments for he's like a cargo and mail pilot.
Yeah,
right.
And to kind of go into York a little bit more, and like you were saying that he wanted Jane Russell or Rita Hayworth, who he had worked with on Angels Have Wings, but Jean Arthur, I think, was in Only Angels Have Wings, and she could not get the Hawks Again woman down. She did not understand what he wanted, and it wasn't until after seeing To Have and Have Not, she was like, I get what you wanted me to be.
Yeah.
I'm down. I'm sorry, I could never get it done. So when he would get that female lead right, and it was someone that could nail what he wanted, those are his best movies.
Right, exactly. Agreed.
Ball of Fire. Yeah.
So Ball of Fire was they started pre-production as they were doing, I think, in post on York, and it's a Billy Wilder script. Billy Wilder was writing scripts, and people loved him at the time, and he loved the conceit of the thing, and basically they wrote it up, and they got Gary Cooper on board because they'd just come off this huge hit with York, and it's using Gary Cooper as sort of this in a screwball comedy amidst a bunch of professors who are trying to basically write a modern dictionary. But the whole reason that this modern dictionary is being funded and written is because the inventor of the toaster feels like he didn't get enough credit in the Britannica version. He's like, he only gets a line, and it's not fair. So we decided to dedicate a whole group. So they decided to write their own encyclopedias around
That's
this.
goofy premises.
And they get involved in, and as like Gary Cooper is the linguist in the group, and he's like adding all of the new slang into the in the dictionary and the encyclopedia part of it. So he's going out and like taking notes, and he goes to a nightclub and gets entangled in this singer who's like gonna marry a gangster. and there's so it's like this weird Some Like It Hot almost sort of plot. And they're hiding her at the house where they have all of these professors collected up that are writing this encyclopedia, and they're all losing their mind because there's this beautiful temptress that's like stirring everything up there, and she's teaching them all about what the modern world is like, and they're just a bunch of horny old men.
It's just where like you go back to this era of filmmaking, and you weren't plagued by the way everything needs to be an IP now. Like all of these are such original ideas and so innovative and so quirky.
Yeah.
And it would be great to go back to that and sort of put down the like everything has to be a franchise. It really doesn't. You just need an innovative idea and characters that you like.
Right. Exactly.
Or love to hate, like Scarface. Not a good, like Tony is not a good man, but my God, is he interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, Ball of Fire, very funny.
Yeah,
definitely worth a watch. And then now I think we're on to
Have Not.
Okay, all right.
I watched yesterday, and I really enjoyed. It's like I really enjoyed it, but I did feel like I was watching Diet Casablanca.
Right, and you're not wrong. So it's based on a book that's
Hemingway, right?
Yeah, Hemingway, and it's nothing like the book. And so I think I'd like to talk a bit about both To Have and Have Not and The Big Sleep, because they're both Bogey Bacall movies. They're both,
and this was back to back. I'm looking at the IMDb. This was back to back, one after the other.
Right.
This is where they met before they were married on this movie. Yeah.
This was Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall.
Mm-hmm. They got married. Yeah.
He divorced his wife at the time to be with Bacall, and was sort of in the midst of doing this between the two movies, and then it became this whole cultural phenomenon. Their chemistry, because apparently Hawks's wife Slim found Lauren Bacall.
Yeah,
and he was Hawks would groom women. This is the darker side. Basically, he would find young actresses and he would make them movie stars, but also have his own intentions with them. And Bacall was one of them, but apparently she fell in love with Bogey on the set and it pissed off Hawks, because he's like, wait a minute, this is my conquest. What are you doing, Bogart? And Bogart was sincerely in love with her. He wasn't interested in this as being a casual thing. They really fell in love. But it's based on a Hemingway novel, but the screenplay is written by William Faulkner.
That's so cool. Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah.
And Faulkner had written Faulkner and Hawks were best friends. So they would go hunting together all the time, and Faulkner always wanted to write a lot of his. He wanted to stay close to his home in the South, right? But a lot of the studios are like, no, you have to work in office here in Hollywood. So he kept leaving to go home and write these books. And Hawks was the only one that would call him and be like, hey, come do a punch up. I'll pay you a whole bunch of money while you're writing your other books. Then you can go back and write your books. But those two, actually, Faulkner had rewritten a lot of the previous work, even leading up to Have and Have Not. And even after Faulkner was involved, just to do punch ups. And The Big Sleep was also co-written as well by William Faulkner.
I wonder if that pissed off Hemingway, because he was very famously like competitive about his writing. I wonder if the
Right.
fact Faulkner came in and adapted his work made it.
Well, Hemingway was way more famous than Faulkner was at this point.
True.
Yeah.
That's true.
So yeah, I mean, what Hemingway was like. Apparently, it's funny. I heard this, you know, in the Orson Welles interview. He talks about how Hemingway had these cliques around him, these gangs of people, these yes men, and apparently Hemingway was making a documentary or a film about the Spanish Revolution, which he was really heavily. He tried to raise funds for the Spanish Revolution, and he wanted to get Orson Welles to narrate this documentary, this piece, and they held a screening, and it was full of all these people going, "Oh, that's great, and Wells is, you know, watching the footage, and he's like, what am I watching? This is crap." And he starts kind of trolling Hemingway in the middle of the screening, and Hemingway's getting like, "What do you know about it? You're just some, you know, theater guy from New York. What do you know about like real revolutions?" And then Wells, in mocking his response, starts like bringing up the pitch of his voice as if he's one of these like,
oh no,
doing this silly version. And they eventually, like, as this movie's playing, they start screaming at each other, and they come to blows and start punching each other.
I bet they fought. I bet Hemingway got
that like
Wells,
I'd like to be in the room on that one.
Right, exactly. And so they're like trying to punch you, and Wells is like, "Yeah, we weren't even landing most of these punches. It was just a couple of overweight men just falling over each other." And anyway, so they ended up becoming friends. But Hemingway had a very, you know, dedicated circle, and Hawks was one of them that he kind of became friends with. And that's how he got to Have and Have Not, and that's why he allowed him to rewrite the film in the way that it does not resemble the book at all. And Hemingway hated this book. He didn't like the book at all. Thought it was
so he disliked the book or the movie.
The book, but he liked the movie.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, Faulkner went through kind of reprocessed it and did refit it to match Casablanca, which was a huge hit for Warner Brothers at the time, because To Have and Have Not was a Warner Brothers movie.
Yeah.
And it was Bogart in the film, so they just wanted to match that success. And you're right, that's the way the film was received at the time of its release. But I think it's a really brilliant film.
Oh, it's very, very good. It's just living in a shadow for sure.
Yeah, hard one to get out from under.
And
go ahead.
And just Bogart is just the epitome of cool. Like he just has some. Every one of these actors has just, whether it be Cary Grant, Gary Cooper, John Wayne, they have an aura, but they're all very, very different auras. Like I mean, Humphrey Bogart is there's just something that, like, he's just cool. Yeah. Like, it's just this nonchalant, and he had it in Casablanca. It's like, I stick my neck out for nobody. Like that. I can, even though deep down I really, really care about what's going on, I can just, like, you were going to think that I don't give a damn, even though I do, and I can float through it. Whereas, and then, you know, John Wayne has, like, of course, like, it's like, this town ain't big enough for the two of us. This is I'm the sheriff in America.
Right.
And I'm going to pull out my rifle, and gosh darn it. And it's two very different leading men, but
yeah, even politically,
you just get sucked into what they're doing on screen.
I think of Lauren Bacall when I think of this movie. I think it's kind of her movie. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's incredible. She was 19 or 20 when this movie was made. It was her first movie.
Oh, wow.
Think about it in the context of having to, you know, hold scenes with Bogart, and it's a Hawks movie, and Walter Brennan's in it, who's like probably won an Oscar or two at this point. And, she's singing with Hoagy Carmichael, who was a huge musician and composer of the era, who was playing the piano in this movie. And she kind of it's her movie. Like when you think about this movie, you think about her in a lot of ways.
Well,
Really impressive for having that presence and performance on your first ever movie.
And she shows up and just immediately. It's like when we meet her, it's the sort of the cuts where their sort of their eyes meet, and it's very. What am I trying to say? Just the dynamic is right.
Yeah,
is right there, and just she has that. You can't help but look at her, and it's like obviously she's very, very. She's a gorgeous, stunning woman, but also it's that attitude. It's very much that just she's like I'm in control of my own sphere, and
she can match
control it like she's in control of her space.
She can really match Bogart's seriousness in the same way that like Katharine Hepburn could match Cary Grant's like goofiness and comedy, chops. Except Katharine Hepburn was a lot more established at the time, obviously. So yeah, it just makes it more impressive. I think I prefer The Big Sleep to this one, but I would
have to lean. I'd have to lean. I'd have to lean to Have and Have Not, just because I really, really enjoyed the book. And when I read The Big Sleep, there are scenes in The Big, and maybe this is a good time to sort of break into like how adaptation and what liberties to take and what makes a good adaptation. But there are scenes in the book that I thought would make just stunning visual scenes and really worked thematically that really at the time there's no way you could have put them in the film. Have you guys read The Big Sleep?
No.
It's an excellent book. I highly recommend it, but you've seen the film, so you know where basically the bullet points stuff of what's in the book is in the movie, and ultimately it's the younger sister who is the culprit in the end, and the book does a better job of expressing that she's seriously mentally ill.
Right.
And there's a scene sort of toward the middle of the book where she just shows up at Marlowe's apartment, just like she's into it, like she's a young, really attractive, mentally unstable person. She shows up, she's just in his apartment, no clothes on, throwing herself at him. And I felt in the book speaks to Marlowe as a character that he's like, no, get the hell. Now, like there's like 98% of men would be like, oh, this is just like attractive woman in my apartment, no clothes, I'm there. And Marlowe is like, he has the self-control and self-discipline to tell her, no, this is not happening, out. And you could really have a good, and again, it's like the thing, it would have to be like a very R-rated sequence, but it's like almost like quasi Basic Instinct type noir, which you couldn't have done back then. And then in the book, when we, the reader, find out that she's the culprit, I mean, at that point, Marlowe has put two and two together, and he needs her to out herself. And she's a couple of times in the book, she's like, oh, I need to like learn how to use a pistol. So he brings her out to these oil fields, California oil fields. It's like, oh, I'll teach you. And gives her the he demonstrates, then gives her the gun to teach her, and she points it at him. He knows he's emptied it. So all I need is the proof, and I am 100% sure she is going to try to take a shot at me, because that's what all the evidence points is, that she did it. She's nuts. The sister is covering for her, and just the backdrop. I mean, in my head, it was just like if you could get Deakins in a There Will Be Blood style cinematography, like you could just stretch the tension and really play with this idea of mental instability and getting your criminal to essentially out themselves. And it's just scenes like that I didn't feel the Hawks film had, whilst like, I got to acknowledge, I don't know that they would have been able to do it in Hayes Code era at the time, do what's in the book justice.
Right.
So it's just, I struggled with that one, even though Bogart himself as a performance, he is a perfect Philip Marlowe. He absolutely captures the character in the book, even if it's not one to one.
Not Liam Neeson.
No, God, oh God, oh,
yeah.
Oh, that movie. I wanted to like that movie so much, and it's no.
I've not read the book, but to me, I never get hung up on book versus the movie typically. Like, especially, I mean, for some, you just don't see. But I never look at if I have, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't bother me if a movie isn't one for one with the book. It's like,
for me, it's does the film catch the spirit of the book? Because they're two different mediums, so it can't possibly be one to one.
I don't know if that's the job of the filmmaker. I think the filmmaker takes something in the book that he connects to, and then whether it's, I liked this relationship, this moment, this is going to inspire me to adapt this into like my own work, or famously Vineland, the Thomas Pynchon novel that just the PTA I haven't read it, but it's apparently very, very different than one battle after another. Like, I don't know, or Kubrick read Lolita and was like, he looked at it as like a challenge. I want to see if I can make Humpert in a movie and see if he's, if I can make him sympathetic and make a pedophile sympathetic. He was like, I want to see, if I can take on that challenge. I don't know. It's really about taking something in a work and making it your own. To me, that's what adaptation is. It really feeds into auteur theory. So I've never looked
at that's it. That's where we're gonna be on different paths here a little bit. Like, I mean, something like, it's like, oh, how dare you? But we'll say something like, I think with One Battle After Another, it's sort of a correlating adaptation that I do actually love is one. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? It's based on the Odyssey, but it's loosely based on it. So, but it's not at the same time. It's not. It's called Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? It's not called the Odyssey. Like with Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, I'm going to expect him to be hewing a little closer to the source material. It's like my personal tastes. If I'm a fan of the source material, I want to see the spirit of what I liked in the film. And I obviously so Lord of the Ring, I have not read all of Lord of the Rings. I read Fellowship and a half. And obviously there's a lot of liberties that Peter Jackson had to take with the film, but the Lord of the Rings still is very, very faithful to Tolkien's ideas and his philosophies. And I'm very much in the line of, if you're going to adapt if somebody else originated a piece, that should be you have the room to play with it in your own way, but you should always keep the original intent in mind. And that's sort of the lane I look at. And then there is obviously, if you try to stay too slavishly devoted to it, then it kind of doesn't work. Like, I'm rereading the Watchmen graphic novel right now, and the graphic novel is spectacular, but I mean, props to Zack Snyder for making the film visually kind of look like what's in the graphic novel, but it just doesn't. It's trying to be one-to-one, and it doesn't work at all. To back up your point.
Yeah, it's all right. Sorry. So I'd like to interject into this with talking about the auteur theory and what it is specifically, right? Sure. So in relation to Howard Hawks and your point about adaptations. So essentially, so back in the 50s, there was a French magazine that talked where a lot of the filmmakers at the time got to kind of espouse their views about what was happening with French cinema at that point. And in French cinema at the time, there was a lot of adaptations happening. And the thinking of the filmmakers was faithful adaptations of the material, because the material, the books are high art, film is sort of the populist medium, right? So it was all very literal, and a lot of the times the filmmakers, by filmmakers I mean Francois Truffaut, Jean-Luc Godard, and a lot of those greats that are part of the French New Wave, all basically said, hey, listen, these movies aren't good. They're not interesting to watch. They're kind of boring. They're not entertaining, but yes, they're adaptations of the great art, but film itself as a medium is its own art, and it needs to be respected that way. And that's what Francois Truffaut's fundamental argument was, that Hawks and Hitchcock and a few of these other authors, they felt, were people that took the moving camera and used it as their pencil, right? The 1-ton pencil, if you will, to borrow the Orson Welles phrase, which is the entire crew, right? All of the many facets that go into making a film. But basically, they had the camera and they were writing their own story. So they made this basic argument, and it was a fairly simple one. An American film critic and historian at that time, this is before like film criticism and film history became a serious art, and this was really before people were taking film as a serious art, right? So his name is Andrew Sarris. He wrote a series of breaking down what he believed, how you decipher what auteur theory is. And the first, he built it as the sort of circle within circle within circle. So there's 3 elements, right? So the outer circle is considered the technician. A director must possess the basic technical competence to make a coherent film. It is a minimal requirement, right? Make a good film, you're here, right? Doesn't mean you're an author. It just means you're a competent filmmaker. So you start there, right? So so let's use Michael Bay, as a lot of people do. All right, now the middle circle is personal style, the stylist. So a director exhibits a consistent, distinguishable personality across their films, creating a signature style that makes their work recognizable, right? So it's, whether moving the camera in certain ways, or whether it's dialogue delivered in a certain way. With Hawks, it's the fact that, the camera is always right here. It doesn't, sometimes you see those great tracking shots like in His Girl Friday, but it's all fairly static camera work for a lot of like what we consider peak Hawks. And so that's sort of the stylist side of things. Now you've established that, okay, you have you have competent filmmaker, similar characteristics, still not an auteur. Now the middle center of this thing is the interior meaning, the auteur. Now this is the ultimate abstract and most crucial circle. It is the tension between a director's personality and his material, representing the soul that elevates it as high art, right? So, and this is the moment, they say, that makes film the high art and creates, brings it from just being this populist medium to something to be taken seriously. So basically you get that. And with Hawks, it's the cynicism. It's also sort of I think the belief in humanity, that we're capable of doing great things for greater purposes, but getting there is not necessarily always the cleanest route.
Yeah.
There's a lot of redemption that happens within his films. I mean, how do you see, like, I'd love to discuss the interior kind of meaning of Hawks films to you guys.
I'm trying to think.
It's a big question. It's a really, really big question. That's definitely. See, where is I was gonna say where is Red River on
They
this?
generally are. They're generally pretty uplifting, right? Like they.
Right.
Well, yeah,
Like
by and
it's
large, yeah. Well, it's like I mean, and actually, I think that a lot of these are they're sort of overlapping. Like after the big sleep, I'm just looking it up. Is Red River is sort of a this father son like coming into your own and owning your destiny, if you will. I don't know if
Right.
that's the right vocabulary word, but
Right.
Matt, the character of Matt, the younger, essentially John Wayne's adopted son. It's about him essentially having like when his dad loses it, having to step in and say, metaphorically take the keys of the car, and then
Right.
it's like no, like we have men, we have a whole group of men and a company that is under our, that we need to take care of, and you're not thinking about that, so.
Right.
So I am taking the keys and we are going this way. And
Yeah.
then it all has to come to a head by the end of the film. And, with the fist fight at the end where, the father has to basically come to terms with it. Maybe he just doesn't have it anymore.
Right.
And that this conflict comes out of a mutual, and it's like really essentially and this is what's so interesting about this particular John, because it's deeper than I think John Wayne usually gets, is that essentially it's like you hurt me,
Right.
like just you hurt my pride, and that is why half the movie is spent like John Wayne's he's like very heavy in the first half, he's not heavy in the back half, he's just the specter coming to get you,
right,
and it comes out of this very, very personal beef.
I think his movies, if you could boil them down to like a kind of a thesis statement about what he, holds high in highest regard, he does seem to, regardless of how the end, because most of his movies do generally have happy endings, almost all of them do, but he seems to hold people that are like good at their job in the highest regard. Like he emphasizes like competence and wit. That's like what he cares about, and that's why he puts, I think, such an emphasis on the stories and the writing, and then what he gets out of his performers. Because even in a movie like His Girl Friday, even if it is kind of more, pessimistic, you are rooting for Grant and Russell because of how like snappy and smart they are. And in Red River, which you're talking about, it starts kind of as a two-hander, but we start following Montgomery Clift, who's amazing in that movie, because of how like competent he is. He's the one that gets them home. He's the hero of the movie. Over and over, like both those Humphrey Bogart characters, they're just like kind of salt of the earth, just care about doing a good job kind of guy, even if they are even if they can be sleazier at times, it is all in service of, I gotta get the job done. Like I don't care about anything else. Same with Scarface. All he cared about was like collecting the money.
What's interesting, like
it's being a criminal. He I think, which is probably a personal thing to Hawks. Just competence, wit, getting the job done.
And that's where you could loop that back to the beginning of the biography, where like his family was built on competent business people,
right?
And like starting with basically nothing and becoming very, very wealthy. And it's where it's like he is quite an American filmmaker in that sense of tracking his history, and it's like going from not a lot to the top of the world. And with Scarface, it's almost like it's sort of pointing to like what happens when you let that ambition, go to unhealthy places. But kind of like everyone, it's all characters who were good at what they do. Like even like with His Girl Friday, everybody your lead characters are good. They're good at the journalism. They just sort of
Right.
let it get ahead of them a little bit. So that's it's sort of an interesting throwback to what his family history is.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, I think they're self-made men that have defined who they are through their professional accomplishments, which is like the most American
Yeah.
value to have. And
Yeah.
and I think he pulls those things out of the pieces of work that he makes, and I think that's where adaptation, where it's an interesting. I think if we are to take film seriously as its own art form, you have to take the piece as it is. You know, like oftentimes to talk about film criticism more, Pauline Kael, like considered one of the great film critics of all time, would talk about like the titles of all of her books were always really sexually suggestive, because she felt that there was this kind of erotic quality to watching a film and the sensorial reaction to a film, and that too often sometimes we intellectualize art, and that what makes film the greatest of mediums is the fact that it's such a sensorial art form in both visually and sound, and you're not going to be as like at the time turned on by a piece of art as you might necessarily be, or as a piece of visual art as you might necessarily be with one of these scenes of Bogey and Bacall and The Big Sleep. Like when he's in that bookstore and that woman's, I mean, that's Bacall isn't in that scene, but and that woman is like seducing him, it's incredibly sexy, and it's this emotional reaction that you have to the film, in that you're also intellectually thinking about, okay, maybe she's playing him, and you're thinking about personal dynamics as well as, you know, how you physically are reacting to the thing. And I think
go ahead, sorry.
And I think, like, if you're going to adapt something and you're more interested in taking things so literally, you lose that physical response. That is what makes cinema great. And if you're thinking about it too intellectually, and you're not thinking about it in the way that the audience is really actually taking these things in.
That bookstore scene is a good Hays Code circumvention.
Yeah, it is.
With all the individuals and the pouring rain, and you know, when he's like, I didn't know you had to get wet during the day, and he pours the whiskey and like
right.
But what you're saying is true, and from what we know about Hawks, like, I'm sure he read The Big Sleep and was like, okay, and read that scene that you were talking about of this woman throwing herself at him and him basically like, get out. And he's like, okay, that's an interesting character to me. This guy who can like put on blinders and block everything out and get his job done. Now I haven't read the book, but if that's like a scene in it, it's like, okay, I can make a movie out of like that character. And obviously, you know, can't include everything in a book.
It's like that's I mean,
it's the point is, and that emotion.
And the other difficult thing, just like when you read a book, you're essentially making you're essentially creating a movie in your own mind of what you're reading, and the film that you make is not going to be the same as what somebody else makes. So, which is what makes adaptation really, really very, very difficult.
Right.
Is you're not going to. What's sort of interesting, obviously, you know, Project Hail Mary just came out and is doing quite well. I really, really enjoyed it, but I haven't read the book, and my understanding is that for folks who have read the book and were fans of the book, the film sort of plays down the science-y elements and writes up more of the friends in space elements, and emotionally as a film, that really, really worked for me personally. But if I was really, really science-y and like really, really loved all the science of the book, it would probably bother me that it's not there in the film. So it's really, you know, it's a it's hard to do, and there's more details than I remember. I had a couple of friends who came into like with this debate. Like, I swear to God, honest, they almost came to fisticuffs over whether over Harry Potter, like,
right,
and this debate of like you're not paying close enough attention to the book, and one of them was like acknowledge. There's detail, and whenever I talk to my friend, he does remind me that it's like no, it wasn't specifically that. It's that so and so didn't acknowledge X, Y, and Z, but it was just like one of the heat. There was just a group of us there, and it's just like, are they about to get into a fist fight over Harry Potter?
right,
Like, and that's all I can remember.
right.
Which is like it's just like, oh, thank God they didn't. It's just like, I love you both, and I understand your points of view. Please don't harm each other.
Right.
I saw Project Hail Mary. I saw Project Hail Mary in the middle of watching all these Hawks movies, and
yeah,
Humphrey Bogart would never cry over a rock in space. This sucks.
Yeah, sir, I will.
Sucks.
I can and did. I shed tears over a rock in space, and I apologize for none of those tears.
Gary Grant would have put that guy in jail 3 times, just like.
Yeah. What's funny is I've heard
so Sam is just going to leave Rocky out in space to die. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the movie.
I am reading the book. I'm reading the book right now because I'm curious, because I've heard a lot of what you were saying about people who really enjoyed the book, not necessarily not liking the movie, but they're like, this could have been, a little bit. Which I don't know. I mean, the movie's damn near 3 hours long. I don't know how much more they could have included, but like it's not bad. I'm enjoying the book so far. We'll see how it turns out, but
I'm gonna hit it at some point right now. And actually, you like when you mentioned you'd picked up the Odyssey. I'm current, and this is in terms of I will say I'm not an aggressively good reader. Like I would like to read more than I do, and I will say my experience so far with the Odyssey, it's a nice way to get little chunks of reading in at a time, because it is an epic poem and it's in stanzas. You can you get a little so say at work I need to kick out an export, and you've got 15-20 minutes where you can't do anything. It's like you can read a little bit, and that's I'm finding really very nice about that book. I don't know how far you are into it, but fascinated to see what Nolan adapts it.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, of course, please don't let it be a Tenet. Please don't let it be a Tenet.
I like Tenet too.
Yeah, I did not like Tenet. I don't think partly it's I didn't understand Tenet, so I just couldn't connect with it.
Back to Red River.
But yeah, it's like Red River. We just went on a massive pleasant tangent.
So apparently, John Ford, who had worked with, to go back to your comment about John Wayne and taking a different turn in Red River, is John Ford had done Stagecoach and made John Wayne, but never thought of him, was kind of nearing the end of wanting to work with him, because he's like, I'd like to make more complex. This is the 50s. We're sort of starting to head into the 50s, post-war, more complex characters that have more complicated dynamics, and John Wayne's a bit hee-haw, and
I'd say.
No.
And so basically, and then Hawks makes Red River, and he's like, all right, let's turn this. Let's age up John Wayne, make him older, make him more complicated. And then after Ford saw this movie, he's like, I didn't know you could do that. And Ford wanted to cast half of the actors in this movie for his next film, and apparently the guy that plays the guy that likes the sugar, that keeps dipping his finger in the sugar, is apparently he's good in the film, but Hawks is like, no, he's a terrible actor, and John Ford's like, no way, he's great in that film. I'm going to get a great performance, and he hires him and he puts him on his next movie, and then Ford's like, God, he was a terrible actor. I didn't know what to do with him half the time. How did you?
It is interesting, because this I think was maybe his second movie, Montgomery Cliff.
Yeah.
He's really, really good in it. And
That's great.
if we jump forward, not to jump forward too much, but like Rio Bravo, that wasn't Dean Martin's first movie. But he'd been in mostly like shorts and Martin and Lewis type stuff until then. This is one of his first more serious roles, and I didn't really like Rio Bravo personally, but I thought Dean Martin was actually really, really good in it. And I wonder if that unintentionally, like casting these guys in important roles next to John Wayne, really made them like raise their level. And like he was, you're probably pretty nervous going to work with John Wayne.
And
especially if you're trying to be a serious actor and pivot like Dean Martin was, or you're very early like Montgomery Clift. Even if Wayne really isn't good in anything ever, it's like it is a huge.
Well, it's just like Sam is. Just burn the American flag.
Ethan.
He's just.
It's just.
How dare you?
He's a huge persona and icon. So like you're gonna really like bring it when you go to work if you're working.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, to be like, I think that Red River works because of Montgomery Cliff. He is the character that is. I mean, it's like, we'll see, John Wayne's character again is interesting because he spends a lot of the movie off screen and we don't see him.
Right.
The one we like, Montgomery Cliff, is the one we really, really hone in on and connect with and go travel the whole film with. And I will say one of the and this is like a whole like how you can frame a shot and just so subtly introduce people. But when he meets the love interest in the middle of the movie, it's sort of the Indian attack. There, it's like he gets in and she's just in the background with a gun. Just subtly in the background, and we just stay there. It's like we don't sort of punch in, and that's our introduction to her. And I just really felt like this is a nice touch. It's like again, you got all these men fighting, but you got frontier women who, they're picking up a gun too, and like they are there.
Right.
And I love the framing of that shot. That was a wonderful way to meet this character who winds up being very important later.
And then she gets shot with an arrow and is still trying to flirt with him.
Yeah, also like that was a little bit like it's like I feel like you're in a little bit more pain here. Just like, okay, like did it just
you didn't know any frontier women? Come on now.
I've never been.
Ever dated a Texas girl? I haven't.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been shot. Maybe getting shot through the shoulder with an arrow isn't that bad. But like there was a split second in time where it's like I thought it's like, oh, did it just go through? Did it just miss her? And then it's wait, no, she took it right in the,
in the clavicle.
Yeah, I would not have taken it that well. Like there would have been a lot of screaming.
There's some impressive scale stuff with that movie, though. The photography of the cattle drive and
Well, it's like there's one there that's almost like it's sort of a precursor to the GoPro where it's sort of POV and it's like inside it's sort of an over the shoulder of the guy driving the cart. It's sort of like almost this GoPro shot of going through the river, which would have been much. I mean, obviously, right now we take it for granted. It's the GoPro is just this big, and you attach it to here. And it's like anybody who's been on a reality show, they're freaking everywhere, and the assistant editors hate it.
Walter Brennan camera.
Bumpy.
I'm as nervous as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs.
I'm gonna drive the cattle.
Yeah, it's just stumpy.
Yeah.
So did you guys notice that the belt buckle that he's wearing in Rio Bravo is the Red River logo? It's the same belt buckle that's in the end that he gives him at the end of Red River. So it has the T, so it's a callback.
Yeah.
And apparently John Wayne always wore that belt buckle in his movies. If you look for it.
Nice. So that means he must have really liked that particular movie.
It was a huge turning point for his career and for his abilities really as an actor to be taken seriously.
Because I mean, I had this idea of John Wayne as a character is this sort of basically a cardboard cutout.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, you are with the right material, you are capable of more.
Right. He called his apparently Hawks called Westerns wheelchair jobs, because he felt like he could shoot the whole thing from a wheelchair, and it would take it's the easiest, laziest thing. You can get them greenlit really easily because they always make money. Well, obviously this was a very different time before the 70s. And also what's that?
We're waiting on Horizon Part 2 still.
Oh no, I don't think we're ever gonna get Horizon Part 2, which is too bad because I liked Horizon.
I'd love to see it.
The 3 Horizon fans are in this call.
Yeah.
We love you, Kevin.
Yeah. Come on, please release it. Come on, Warner Brothers, please.
We want it. We want it. Us 3. We went to this movie.
Anyway, sorry.
Sorry.
Wheelchair jobs. Yeah.
So wheelchair jobs, and he thought comedies were he always felt comedies were a little easier to shoot, which to me, I'm like, that doesn't seem, the amount of blocking and pre-construction for comedies, because oftentimes comedy, with actual Westerns, you've got that second unit stuff, right? Like whether they're blowing up the factory, he just says, okay, you go shoot that, second unit guy. I don't want to do that. I'll just do the dramatic scenes, right? And but with comedies, you have oftentimes these scenes are 2 things, right? So he has to be present for a lot of that. So, but he said maybe it was that it was easier to get those green lit, but I mean, ultimately Westerns he thought was the simplest thing to do, which is why he made so many of them towards the end of his career, and they all felt like the same movie. Rio Lobo is really cool, and then it just
I didn't watch that.
Red River, I really enjoyed that one. I'll probably that one I'll add to the shelf. Rio Bravo I would have liked better if it was like a half an hour shorter.
Right.
Like it's a long movie. And it wasn't like you had the whole sequence in there where Dean Martin and Ricky Nelson are singing. And it's like, okay, this is solely here because you're 2 of the cast members are the most popular singers of the time. And it's like one of those, it's like, this is very charming. Also, you could cut out a little bit of time with
that'd
it.
That'd be like if Harry Styles started singing in Denver.
Well, that was sort of an interesting question I had. Like, who would, if you were to make Rio Bravo now, who would be the Dean Martin? Who would be that? I mean, it's the thing. With the Ricky Nelson character, my brain went to either Chalamet or Austin Butler, but neither of them are necessarily music people. And you're talking about
it'd be Billie Eilish.
Billie Eilish. That would be an interesting version, variation on it. But like who are these equivalent stars now? And I guess Harry Styles might be one of those people. But who are that? If you were to cast singers in this Western, who would they be?
Right. Yeah, it's a good question.
I mean, I guess with the Ricky Net with Colorado. Colorado. I mean, I was a big fan of Wonka, so I would go Chalamet. Let's put Chalamet in a Western.
Let's do it. Okay. All right. So I want to talk about Tarantino's obsession with Rio Bravo. Right. And his own career and decisions, just to divert from Hawks.
Yeah.
By Tarantino's own theory about like quality of films, this is like 30-some films into Hawks' career, and he's much older, which goes completely against Tarantino's own theories about a certain number of pictures are their best films. And also, he claims that this is I think he says it's his favorite Hawks film, which I'm like, no.
I know.
But he has a lot of bad takes.
Contrarian. That's what it is.
It's like one of those. It's like because like the whole you can only make And I'm really excited. Like a couple weeks from now, I'm getting together with I'm doing a stream with a friend of mine from Nashville. We're going to do a ranked list of Tarantino, and I'm really excited to have that discussion. I do think that the 10 movie thing that Tarantino keeps putting out there, it's like that seems like a little bit.
It's a gimmick.
It's
a way.
Yeah, I don't buy it. Because you look at Eastwood, made great films well into his old age. And even like I know like Ridley Scott has been not great since The Martian, but like I mean he was pretty damn old when he made The Martian, so like you can do good films when you're older. So I do think it's a little bit of Tarantino sort of making a brand for himself, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's a financing gimmick. That's my guess.
Yeah,
House of Gucci's awesome. Speaking of Scott,
I gotta rewatch that one.
Ben, does he cite why he likes Rio Bravo so much?
Because I think he was a kid. I think you read cinema speculate. I think his dad took him to see it.
He saw it once back in the 70s.
Maybe it wasn't his dad. He didn't have a dad. it was some father-like figure.
His mom, I think. It was like, yeah, and it he seems to have that a lot. We're like, because I for a time was trying to watch everything he liked, and I'd watch some of these like barely above B-level 70s movies. It's terrible.
Yeah, no. I mean, this goes. He loves Pauline Kael, right? And I think like there's speculation that the movie he was writing, the film critic, is sort of about that, and her, and this goes to what we talked about earlier about Pauline Kael, about like it's about your experience in that moment, right? And how you took in the film at that particular. And I think he subscribes to that in a certain way. And it sort of flies in the face of auteur theory as this like cerebral intellectual approach to watching films where you disconnect your emotional thing because you're so busy studying all of these components, which is sort of contrary to what Truffaut was trying to get at initially when they made it. But I think it's fascinating, certainly because Pauline Kael was against auteur theory, saying like you can't, like, directors aren't like brands. You're suggesting that they're like a brand, and we shouldn't treat film like, if we're really talking about film as a high art, we can't be branding things, right? But,
well, I mean that's because I mean I think like for certain directors you get to, like a Tarantino or a Scorsese, you get to a spot where your audience, like there's certain expectations of what people think of as a Scorsese film. So on a certain level, like there is a Scorsese brand, if you will, and there he has director trademarks and foibles that he brings to each one. If you're seeing a Spike Lee joint, you're looking for specific things. Tarantino certainly to the point has I don't think I've never seen Tarantino do a goofball comedy like Bringing Up Baby. I would be fascinated to see him try and tackle that. I don't know if that's his thing, but yeah, it's like some or Tim Burton. What you're getting with a Tim Burton film,
right? So
Pauline Kael kind of had her favorites though.
She did.
Like she hated Robert Redford because didn't like Kiss the Ring essentially early in his career, and but she like blasted every one of his movies in his career.
Yeah, so
he called him like a pretty boy, and like she compared him to Lassie in one of his movies.
Oh no!
When he like made some good movies, obviously. So I don't know. She definitely played favorites a little bit. But it's interesting that someone that is so driven,
that's
loves her so much. Yeah.
I mean, and that's like one thing. If you're reviewing films, or like reading reviews, like if you have tastes in what you like, you find a film critic that basically shares those tastes, and you'll odds on you'll like the film.
Right.
But I mean, I'm at least on a personal level, on like when I write my little Instagram reviews, like I try at least to put in my head like who would this there might be an audience for this film that's not that isn't me.
Right.
And okay, if I didn't like X, Y, and Z, okay, that's fine. That doesn't necessarily mean it's. And again, this is which we're just. Please don't hurt me. Like,
what was the audience?
I respect 2001: A Space Odyssey all day long. I found it really, really boring.
So did Pauline Kael. She hated it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's one of like it's one of those movies that I'm like always afraid to tell people I'm not a fan of, just on a personal level.
So sorry, were you gonna say something?
What's the audience for Hatari?
Did you guys watch that?
No, I couldn't.
No, I'm pulling.
You couldn't? What? You could? Did you even start it?
No, I was like, I didn't. I ran.
Oh God! Like, look at this poster.
It's awesome. That movie, the way they shoot it. You'll never see a movie like that again, and it's a family film, basically, right? So the March of the Baby Elephants was written. That piece of music was written for that movie because he scored the whole thing, right? So it's kind of a goofy family film with John Wayne, right? There's a kind of minor love story, and Red Buttons is in there cracking jokes. It's being kind of generally.
Oh, hey, it's got Bruce Cabot of King Kong fame,
right? Yeah, Hatari is an interesting one. So one thing, not to keep going back to the auteur theory, but I think it's worth discussing this piece. Andrew Sarris also talked about how true auteur theory could only really exist in a certain time. Within the golden age of this, more specifically within the golden age of the studio system, being that because it was such a machine where you were mandated to use specific people, where you had specific scripts and you weren't allowed the creative control that you are now. Like a guy like Tarantino who goes to Miramax and like gets a film funded, he gets full control because he's the one who found the money and yada, yada, yada. But because these directors were making these films like the William Wellmans or the Weilers or the am I forgetting? Why am I blanking on Gone with the Wind director?
Victor Fleming.
Fleming, right. Basically that because they were in such tight controls, but they were still able to meet all three of those expectations of that circle. That's what made them true artists, is that they found a way of like getting their message through, even though they were stuck in a certain confined machinery.
And God, that's like maybe this is probably maybe a dumb comparison, but have you ever watched the show Chopped on Food Network?
Yes.
It's a fun show. Basically, the idea is you've got 30 minutes to these chefs. You got a group of chefs. They're given a basket of random crap that may not necessarily go together at all.
Right. Like mayo and Oreos. And you got
exactly. Okay. And they've got 30 minutes to make a meal out of this, and they have to use their own. It's like their own creativity in their heads to take this box that they were delivered and make something that the judges like. So it's like it's sort of I'm as the dumb that I am, I'm taking the idea and sort of dumbing it down to just. It's like the studio system. It's like it's a little bit like Chopped. Like here's your script, your script, your actors make the film, and now you have to give it your own personality, and it's up to you to make it work.
Finding a way to get the message out, even with the guardrails. Whether it's the Hays Code, whether it's the studios, still being able to like show your individuality in an era where like there was none, essentially.
And that's the power of Hawks, is he always did, and he would always knock it out of the park. Even in his most middling film, I would sit and even Gentlemen for Blondes.
I was gonna say that's the one we haven't got. Like we sort of leapfrogged Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and went right to Rio Bravo. I mean, I'm a sucker for like one of my favorite Christmas movies is White Christmas. I'm a sucker for
that movie.
I'm a sucker for musicals. I do think Gentlemen Prefer Blondes has the one iconic sequence with Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, which is really, and that sort of drags the rest of the movie along with it.
And that's the problem with Rio Bravo is like it's just such a thin nothing of a intention or meaning or like I get it. They're feminists. They're in control of their own choices, but they're kind of not. Also, they're still playing the game. Like it feels like that's at the time it came out. Oh, it's this great feminist film ahead of its time, and that's what they even through like the feminist movement of the 70s they considered that with the film. I don't buy that. I kind of don't buy that with that movie, and I think Marilyn Monroe is terrible in it.
Yeah, well,
she's just kind of like
even well, it's like even so that like, and this is less I would say a comment on the film and more like, okay, she had something. Right. There's the bit at the diner. It was sort of like your act 3, like your low point. And it's a musical number. It's like I think this is my issue with the film is none of the musical numbers are all that memorable except for the one. But like when you see Marilyn Monroe move, she's just so much smoother than Jane Russell, and it's like there is like this person had like she really, and it's like I mean obviously she's very attractive, but beyond that, in her movements. Right. There really was something there, and it's an unfortunate story all around. I don't think we ever got. I think she was on her way to probably giving a great performance.
JFK just had to kill her.
Back and to the left. Sorry.
Maybe she killed JFK. I mean, we're gonna find out eventually at some point.
Like Marilyn could have been on the grassy knoll. We don't know.
Where's Curtis?
Where is Oliver Stone? Like, I have theories for him.
All right. So, what other movies have we not covered? We got Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. We got Rio Bravo. And did we stop? Is that? I mean, Rio Bravo was my pick, so I'm sorry, guys.
I didn't hate it. It was I actually there's a lot about it I quite enjoyed, except the running time. It's like were this a half an hour shorter, I'd be right there. But there was a ton about it that was very, very charming. And then it is more the classic idea, the classic what I think of John Wayne. It's just like I'm grabbing my rifle and like I'm gonna sashay in and
the only other thing I watched like Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, and then I didn't watch any, and then Rio Bravo, and I didn't watch anything after that, but I did watch The Thing from Another World.
Yes,
he produces, and in some places is credited as a director, so who knows, but he definitely has his hands over that, and it's really kind of a fun 50s sci-fi. I like it.
This is, I mean, that's again like the origin of John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah, and there's a scene in the end that's pretty funny. Me and my brother always laugh about this, where they have the door barricaded from the inside, and then the door opens from the outside. The monster just opens it and like flings it back, but it's not played as like a scene of comedy. It's supposed to be like dramatic, but when they shoot it on the day, it's like it does open the wrong way.
And that's like that. Like that is there is a charming thing. There's a friend of mine who's a huge fan of 50s sci-fi, and like this is years ago at this point when I was in LA, we'd do he lived at Silver Lake, and we do 50s sci-fi night. And we'd go
boring time.
we'd go get some. We'd go get Panda Express. Come back and watch a couple of. It's basically like a bunch of guys, hanging out watching 50s sci-fi, and it's sort of and like he grew up on it, and so like he had this really sort of full understanding of the genre, and we sort of all I think came to like love the foibles and the little the eccentricities of that genre and period. So I've got a soft spot in my heart for
like
for
using
it.
dynamite to like melt ice.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like the one thing that is the closest Hoxian thing about that is the most annoying character in the movie.
Is it William? It's Brennan. Is Walter
the-
Brennan in it?
No, it's it's the journalist.
Mhm.
And it's the journalist, but then he does give the journalist like a good moment at the end.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
that's kind of the only through line I was kind of able to detect. So probably didn't have a lot of directing,
Right.
you know,
And
involvement, but I like that movie a lot. It's
one, and I will say, like, in terms of like book to movie, and I didn't find it. I just sort of popped in my head, like Jurassic Park book, very different from the movie. The movie is spectacular. The book is spectacular. Like they're both great, but you'd never be able to do that book the way that Spielberg did the film and have it. And I think Spielberg respected the sort of the underpinning, like here's what Crichton is saying in it, but the plot points are going to be all completely different because so
yeah. I can I recommend one Monkey Business.
Yeah, I like that movie.
So funny. Oh my god. I was just losing it watching that thing. I almost his funniest movie. Like almost funnier than Bringing Up Baby.
So what year? When was this?
50s.
50s.
It's basically you get to see Cary Grant go from being a 50-something scientist to being a 7-year-old.
All right, I'm sold. And so, like the other things, like I like again, it's just all of these films are just so different. So going back to this era, it's just been a nice, pleasant break from the same old. Because I mean, maybe it's just like I don't know if it's just my opinion. I feel like we get a lot of same old now. At least from studios, it's like what's the it's like okay, we're cranking out the next piece of IP, and like I go back to these, and it's like this is just so like innovative and charming, and
right.
it's still like they still hold up, and you could. I mean, you'd have to maybe do a little bit of sort of give your kids some brief history on. It's like, okay, this is what this at the time X, Y, and Z, but beyond like little details, I think any young person could watch these films, enjoy them, and have a good time.
Yeah,
like they're still they're kind of timeless in that way, which is wonderful. And it's like I'll say I did like the one thing with Sergeant York. When the credits came up, it's just like, oh, Max Steiner from King Kong, the composer. And it's like maybe I'm again a huge King Kong fan. It was just like yay. So
yeah,
but watch old movies is what I'm saying. Like
absolutely.
Maybe don't show your kids Scarface though. They're not ready. They're not ready for. My nephew is 2. He's not ready. We're gonna
flipping a coin George Raft style in the corner after he watches it.
It's like I'm just like have to apologize to him. It's like I'm sorry I showed him Scarface and now he has gangster dreams.
Yeah, I think like and to put it on your point with the auteur theory and working through the studio system and having so many genre defining films and still being able to relay a clearly Howard Hawks message that kind of links all of these movies really proves that he's, along with Hitchcock, one of the like greats to transcend all of these genres and still have a similar, along with the Spielbergs and the Hitchcocks and the Hawks,
And again, like this, I think this is a great suggestion, Sam, because I didn't really. It's like he's not somebody I've really thought a whole ton about. He's really sort of background in film history, and like he probably I think deserves a little bit more recognition that he actually receives.
Yeah,
somebody that like Spielberg and Scorsese routinely like cite as someone that they watched and people should watch. I watched a discussion with Spielberg recently where he was saying like filmmakers who are younger and trying to, make movies today, don't just watch like what I watch. You should go watch like Howard Hawks. That's like, because if you're trying to emulate the people that are working today, watch what they watched. And
Right.
Scorsese's talked about. It's funny you were mentioning about how he said comedy's the easiest for him. Scorsese, I saw, was speaking about how difficult he finds some dialogue to be, and how like Hawks was great at it, and like staggering when people would start and stop their sentences, and it was you start your sentence on her third word, so that you're overlapping and you're saying the same things at the correct time for the funniest impact, and that's all thought out and staged and drilled, and Hawks, that I think the fact that was easiest for him just kind of shows
it came like it's a talent.
Definitely how naturally it came, because I think Scorsese was speaking about a scene in The Aviator where obviously Katharine Hepburn's in that character in that movie. Cate Blanchett's playing Katharine Hepburn in that movie, and so there's a scene where it needs to be very of that time, and so they were trying to do a scene where everybody's like speaking over each other, and he talked about how difficult it was to like rehearse that and then actually get it on the day, where that's just like so many of his movies, like
right,
it's just it sings. It's like the score. It's like it goes so,
right.
It goes so perfectly.
And apparently he pulled this off without being an overbearing director in the midst of it. He wouldn't stop everybody and say no. He was very quiet. He let it play out. He would give them the ground rules, and then they would just go and know what to expect, which is that's incredible.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, how often do you hear stories of directors who were nightmares to work with?
Right.
Yeah, it's nice to hear. It's nice to read about somebody who was able to sort of manage their vision without being a jerk about it.
Right.
There is an art to that.
Yeah.
Who are we doing next?
I was thinking about that. Can I pitch a new idea?
Yes, please.
Let the audience pick one of these three people.
Okay.
All right. I've got three, Sam, if you've got one, or if you got some, but the three that I would be interested: Robert Bresson.
Okay.
Max
is that who you threw out the other day, Robert Bresson?
Robert Bresson, Max Ophuls.
Okay.
Or Carol Reed.
Yeah, I'm not gonna know any of these. I haven't seen any Bresson movies I know.
Let's see.
Ooh, Carol Reed would be fun.
Oh, The Third Man. Oh, Oliver. Okay, I'm pulling this up.
Let me get my. Gives me a lot of naps. And then okay. What was the second one? What was the second one?
Max Ophuls.
Let's see. How do you?
OP.
Oh, like this is this. Let's see. Okay, 1902. So that's when he was born.
So Paul Thomas Anderson cites him as one of his favorite filmmakers.
Who?
Max Ophuls.
And what was the third? So I've got Carol Reed, Max Ophuls, and who is the?
Robert Bresson.
You said he was kind of a French Hawks, maybe.
Yes. He always had very understated. Bresson always had very understated understated performances. Has a very technical approach. Like he uses montages often, like for Pickpocket or Man Escaped, showing the process of how they escaped or how they would steal from somebody. And Balthazar.
I was gonna say, I'd vote Bresson because I really want to watch Balthazar.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'd be good with
Carol Reed sounds
Any
like
of these
tickles your fancy.
like Carol Reed is the one that I'm like
Man,
I'm
his trifecta of the Third Man, Odd Man Out, and Fallen Idol are yes.
Yeah.
But did you have one, Sam, that you wanted to throw in the mix?
To pitch?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm trying to think. Like, how many? So, have you seen most of these movies of the guys you're throwing out, or is it?
I've seen very little of Opals.
Okay.
I've seen almost everything by Carol Reed, and I've seen about a quarter to maybe half of Prasan's stuff.
It's like what I almost feel like we should do is I should find some sort of inexpensive like those like bingo machines with the sort of like the ping pong balls and right director. Like if we have 369 pick some directors.
But I'd love it if you guys threw a name in there too. If there's somebody that's kind of
trying to think who I've been who I feel like is a blind spot. That's what I'm trying to think.
Yeah,
because
and what was interesting about Hawks is like this is more westerns than because in terms of cinematic blind spots, I have not seen a lot of westerns, so that this sort of filled that void for a little bit. So I like that concept of who, it's like where have I missed something?
Yeah.
So, I'll have to think about that. I should have been. Go ahead, Sam.
No, I was gonna say I'd be happy to do all three of those, but before I guess you put out a poll or a vote, like I'll try somebody, but those sound good.
Yeah.
Nap time.
I meant that for Carol Reed once I saw all
Have you seen Odd Man Out?
Sorry?
Have you seen Odd Man Out before?
No.
Oh, man. Or you've seen The Third Man, though, right?
I think The Third Man might be the only of his filmography. Oliver I've seen. The Third Man I've seen. I'm looking at it right now.
Odd Man Out is incredible, dude. Like, James Mason he's an Irish revolutionary, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you like The Third Man and you like that really stylized camera work that's very expressive and noirish, I would argue I would put it in the top 10 of most beautiful films ever made.
Okay.
Ooh, all right.
I
will say, like, that's one thing you go. And this is, I think, a lost art now, as well as the poster, the one sheet. Like I'm pulling up some of these on IMDb, and it's like let's see if I'm gonna do a quick screen share right here. Like, I mean, I just feel like posters just were so much more interesting looking, than they are now. And it was just like it was art. And I feel what we do these days is slap the actors on in Photoshop and call it a day.
Right.
And the art of it is a little bit we're missing that.
Right.
One I was gonna maybe pitch, I guess, down the line would be Andrei Tarkovsky.
Oh, yeah, that would. I
any of his movies.
This is, and I consider
I've seen
this
them all. I love Tarkovsky.
So this is like one I need to do anyway.
Yeah, this is and I would say I consider this a personal cinematic crime of mine that I have not seen any Tarkovsky films.
That got Ben excited. Ben's seen all of them then.
I believe I've seen all of them. There might be a couple like stragglers out there.
He doesn't have like 50 movies either, so it would be pretty.
And some of them you can't get because they were made in Russia and never properly cataloged, I think. But I think almost everything, most of his stuff. I mean, some of these movies are like Andrei Rublev, I think, is like really long. I want to say that was 4 or 5 hours.
Jeez.
I mean, there's a 30-minute section where you watch somebody watch a kid in the 1400s make a bell. It's riveting. It's beautiful. but it's there's no story. I mean, so be prepared for that for all of his movies. Story does not really move.
Yeah.
No,
Well, it's like what's interesting. I remember they and I did not see the George Clooney Solaris, but I remember at the time they came out that it's just like, why are we redoing this one? This doesn't seem like Hollywood has the ability to.
Yeah,
like
the book isn't a great read if you guys get a chance, but but his adaptation, Tartakovsky's, is pretty different from the book.
Yeah,
I think Soderbergh's is kind of more emotionally attuned to what the book is about.
Yeah,
than Tarkovsky's, which is more of the more of a like a very veiled commentary on the Russian state, who are the ones that were funding the movie. And they talk about like the Hays Code, the Russian board for reviewing censorship was very nothing anti-communist could be in your films.
Like,
and the basic premise of Solaris is extremely anti-communist.
Yeah, you we don't like your film, you go over the roof.
Right, exactly.
Cool.
So that's definitely another one. Can I take a little time and pull some options, because I like the like Carol Reed. I'm definitely like looking at his filmography, and I'm like, okay, this definitely looks like any one that I would lean towards. But yeah, let's pull these four, and then Sam, if you wanna pull some more options, I'll pull some more options, and then we'll narrow it down.
Cool.
So we ended up going 3 hours here.
Yeah.
We talked about 2.
Yeah.
My poor parents, they're like, send it to me after.
Quiz them. Quiz them.
Like,
here's the test.
They enjoyed the first one, but they've definitely seen a lot more Howard Hawks movies than Friedkin. So.
Yeah. I will say, it's like with Friedkin, like I did when we were done with our it was after our stream. I watched Killer Joe with my mother, and it was just like, oh, this was a mistake.
Yeah.
Like, what if I regret my decision immediately? Or not that I didn't like.
Was it the opening scene?
Do you have to have KFC right after?
No. I don't think I'm ever going to have KFC again. Not just like that ending was just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like this is, again, it's like, talk about a ballsy filmmaker.
I will say, John, if you get a chance to watch either Monkey Business or Ball of Fire, after check them out.
Yeah, I've sort of taken some notes over here on those because I'd like to check out a couple more before I move on. I'd like to check out some more Howard Hawks, because this was a really good lineup of films. I've got my friend Mike is coming on next weekend. We're talking Amadeus, which I haven't seen in years. And that was a great suggestion on his part, so I'm looking forward to rewatching that. And then I've got a couple streams the week after. My friend Richard has suggested the Untouchable, and I'm actually going to rewatch. I'm going to rewatch the '80s Scarface,
right?
Because we settled on the Untouchables, but with De Palma, I think it's going to be a sort of De Palma focused with Untouchables specific. And then I've got to catch up on all of my. I rewatched Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. Right. I've got to rewatch all my Tarantino for Tarantino stream, which I actually still have not seen The Hateful Eight yet. So,
interesting.
So the conceit of that stream is like each of us, Taylor's and I, we're each separately. We're going to have cards, and where it's like essentially Tarantino worst or least good to most best. And just like go one and just see where the arguments come in, which I thought could be pretty fun. Which are
you going to dive into like Milos Forman's work when you go to watch?
Amadeus, we're going to stay, I think, pretty specific to Amadeus. I'm going to have to do a little bit of research on Milos Forman because I'm not as familiar with him as a director.
What another great catalog from
that'd be a good
Cuckoo's
one.
Nest.
We could do that. I don't know. That'd be a good one to do.
And we'll say the other, and I was again doing of course, Oscars have been in the news, and I read looking up. It's like it won a bunch of them, and I did not realize that Tom Hulce and F. Murray Abraham, they were both nominated in the same same category of Best Actor for that year. So, and I am gonna have to rewatch out of because there's a great Amadeus joke in it a couple of times. Last practice. Just like it's like, what is the Mozart? The guy practice guild? Yes. You said he told me not to trust you. He said you killed Mozart. Not. And underappreciated, a little bit of underappreciated McTiernan that was maybe a little ahead of its time.
Absolutely.
But so that's what's coming up kind of the next couple of weeks. It's cool. Like this has been really fun, and it's like the guest stuff. Like I've been doing solo stuff, and the solos, it's like all fine and well and good, but the back and forth is what movies are supposed to be. So I'm excited. April is all guests, and I'm really looking forward to. I'm talking to Steve Quant from about doing one, so I'm looking forward to that. And
what's the movie? What's the?
He pitched me a bunch of them, so we're I got to look at his list and narrow one of them, and I haven't seen it, was Nixon, which I think like JFK was on there and Nixon was on there, so maybe an Oliver Stone type of a thing, but yeah, so we need to let's get it we got to get our next filmmaker down, and then get maybe like June, or sort of end, because this was quite a bit of time, and then juggling
absolutely
day-to-day life to sort of fit all of these films in. So maybe a month to a month and a half, maybe.
Yeah.
All right. Well, where can everybody find you? And
here.
Yeah, right here.
Here.
Oh, and again, it's like I want to just throw out there Ben's documentary, The Best of Us, again.
Yeah.
It's a really a wonderful film. So anybody out there watching, check it out. I'm
gonna pitch you with the audiences. Go check out his YouTube channel. Some of the short films you made, John. You're a gifted filmmaker, man. You really are.
I'm hoping to. When we get off here, where I've got to sign up for the Boston 48-hour film project is in a couple weeks, and I've just got me and my mother, so it's probably going to be like a two-person show of trying to, what can we do, because it's been too long since I've made anything. So.
That'd be fun.
Yeah,
two people. I've done some with just one other person before.
Yeah,
makes you get creative. It's cool.
Yeah, it's like it's sort of in a and kind of after all of the Howard Hawks stuff, I wouldn't mind specifically planning it for black and white.
Yeah.
So we'll see. All right. Well, everybody tuning in, thank you very much for watching, and go watch some Howard Hawks films, and we will all see you next time.
All right. Thank you, John. Good to see you, Sam.
Good.
All right.